After 33 years in professional baseball, Jim Leyland is finally this close. He toiled for 2 decades in the minor leagues, riding the buses out of Cocoa Beach, Bristol, and Rocky Mount. Now, he's 1 game away from a world championship. But even as Jim Leyland closes in on the pinnacle of his career, he hasn't forgotten where he came from or the people closest to him. 3 previous times in the 90s, Jim Leyland had a chance to take his team to the World Series. Each time, he walked away on the losing side. Through the years, whether with pennant contenders or teams that were overmatched, Leyland has been respected as one of the game's best managers. And more than that, people throughout baseball have openly displayed their regard for him. And now, he is this close. Tonight might be the night Jim Leyland remembers all his life. And if it is, he's sure to remember those who have been with him from the start. Game 6 is next.
BC Sports presents the 1997 World Series. Tonight, it's Game 6. The Cleveland Indians versus the Florida Marlins.
We have tossed off the overcoats and the earmuffs and returned from Cleveland to South Florida. Back to where they serve empanadas and Cuban coffee at the concession stands. Back to where the Marlins take batting practice, that's not one of them, in shorts and t-shirts. And most significantly, back to where the game time temperature will be roughly twice what it was in Cleveland for games 3, 4, and 5. In fact, the mercury sitting smack at 80 degrees about a half an hour from the first pitch of game 6. Hi again, everybody. I'm Bob Costas. Bob Uecker and Joe Morgan will join me later. Now, there's no question the Florida Marlins are in control of this series. They're back at home. They had the best home record in all of baseball during the regular season. And they have their ace, Kevin Brown, set to go, trying to clinch it in Game 6, just as he did in Game 6 of the LCS in Atlanta as they cinched the pennant and moved on to the World Series. But the situation for the Cleveland Indians is far from hopeless. First of all, Brown's opponent tonight is Chad Ogea. And as you see, Ogea, who pitched very well in September and in the playoffs prior to the World Series, bested Kevin Brown in Game 2, the first time Brown had lost to anybody since July 27th. And what the Indians are attempting to do here is not unprecedented, to climb out of a hole and win Games 6 and 7 on the road. 24 times previously in World Series history, a team trailing 3-2 has managed to win Game 6 on the road and force a 7th game. And then half of those dozen times, the team on the road has won the 7th game to come back and win it all. Take a look. The last time it happened was in 1979. The Pirates doing it to the Baltimore Orioles. So it is difficult. The odds are against them, but it is far from unprecedented. Pre-game showtime now, and we turn it over to Hannah Storm and Keith Olbermann.
Well, Bob, as you know, baseball has always been a big part of the sports landscape here in Florida, but never like the last couple of weeks has such a fan frenzy been ignited for the sport of baseball. This place has been electric for the last hour or so, and upwards of some 67,000 expected again tonight. It's quite a scene. Like all good South Floridians, they can smell a party coming. A note for you, for the 7th time the Cleveland Indians enter a postseason game this year, trailing the series. They won each of the first 6. Well, something else to give the Indians hope as we harken back to almost a week ago, Game 2 of this series. It was supposed to be the Kevin Brown show, but instead Florida's ace was outpitched by little-known Chad Ogea. Well, tonight they meet again. Ogea looking to keep the Indians' season alive, while Brown can trigger celebration all over Florida. In the deciding Game 6 of the League Championship Series against Atlanta, Kevin Brown demanded he stay in the game and be the man to bring the Marlins to the World Series.
Jim was going to pull me after the 6th inning, and I came in and just was talking with him. Told him I thought I was just getting in a little better rhythm and was starting to make some better pitches, and he agreed to let me go hitter by hitter. I've always been taught that you go with your strengths, you go with what got you there. And, if you're going to get beat, you want to get beat with your best.
In Game 2 of the World Series, Brown was not at his best, and the Cleveland Indians, especially Chad Ogea, were not intimidated.
Since I was 11 years old, I've been in the postseason every single year, and it seemed like I always got to pitch a game that made a difference. This game is definitely the biggest game because if we lose, we go home. If we win, we stay. And to me, that would, it gives me chills to think about winning that game and being able to celebrate after a 7th game. But, you have to win them one at a time.
Lineup note for the Marlins: Kevin Brown is very comfortable with Jeff Conine at first base, and so is Jim Leland for defensive purposes. So Conine's going to start tonight, but what that does is leave Darren Dalton, who's hitting .467 in the World Series, coming off the bench as a pinch hitter.
Good news for Chad Ogea. And while Ogea was masterful in their first meeting, Brown was not at his overpowering best. Down in the catacombs of the stadium, inside our experimental hitter's workshop, our Barry Larkin examines what went wrong for Brown in Game 2 and what the Indians should look for in this rematch.
6 innings pitched, 10 hits, 6 runs. That was Kevin Brown's line in Game 2 of the World Series. Of those 10 hits, though, only 2 for extra bases. And of those 2 extra base hits, only 1 ball was crushed. Hanging slider, Sandy Alomar Jr. In that game, Brown had trouble finding his release point all night. What I mean by that is he was getting out front, his hand was dragging behind, and the ball rolled off of his hand. That creates a side-to-side motion, and sometimes the ball sails out over the plate. Against Atlanta, Brown struggled early, but he was able to find that release point and really snap that wrist and get that downward good sinking motion that he needs in order to be successful. Give the Indian hitters credit. They extended their arms and hit some good pitches down in the zone, but out over the plate. In order for Brown to wrap up this series, he's going to have to find that release point early, work the corners of the plate to shut down this powerful Indian offense.
Try to get one by Barry Larkin by going online at MLBWorldSeries.com.
Well, Keith, after the 2 teams combined for 53 runs in the last 3 games, this series has become a hitter's showcase. Already, 14 home runs have been hit, just 3 away from the World Series record. The kings of the long ball have been the Indians' Sandy Alomar Jr. and Florida's Moises Alou. The Sluggers are next, but first, the World Series Home Run Derby. Back in Miami for Game 6 of the 1997 World Series. The 2 groups of viewers with a special interest in tonight's game are the NFL's Chicago Bears and Miami Dolphins. Both teams are in town and watching this game on TV tonight. If the Marlins win tonight, the Bears and the Dolphins will kick off tomorrow afternoon, right here as scheduled. But if the Indians manage to force a Game 7, the Bears and the Dolphins actually have to wait until Monday night to play their game here.
Let's not even talk about rainout possibilities. And one big hitter who wants to make sure that football game is played Monday night is the Indians catcher Sandy Alomar. The 31-year-old has had the proverbial dream season, and he doesn't want it to end just yet. So you've been down 6 times in the postseason. You've trailed in games before today, and you've won all 6 times. You like being in this position?
We don't like being in this position, but we don't have no other choice. Just hopefully we can turn it around, and hopefully it can bring a championship to Cleveland. It's going to be tough, but it could be done.
What is it about your team that seems to focus you in these situations? Why do you win these games? Why are you still here?
I think guys, every time we had our backs on the wall, I think that they relax more, even though it's a tougher situation. They don't have another choice that either to win or disappear. So I imagine they relax and that they play a much better baseball that way.
Everybody who saw last Sunday knows that you made a point that that home run was for your father's birthday. Whose birthday is it today?
Today is my daughter's birthday, Marisa. She's going to be 5 years old. 5 years ago, the Toronto Blue Jays, Roberto Alomar and Toronto Blue Jays clinched, they won the championship. We're not going to do it tonight if we win, but we had the chance to win it tonight, and kind of remind me of that when Roberto was on the World Series.
So your gift to her would be a 7th game?
A 7th game. That's without another choice. Go to the 7th game and bring a championship back to Cleveland.
And technically, Sandy's daughter Marisa is older than the Marlins franchise.
As we talked about, this is a hitter's series, and no one has had more impact than Marlins left fielder Moises Alou. In Game 1, he broke it open with a 3-run home run off Oral Hershiser, and then he duplicated that feat in Game 5. A short time ago, Jim Gray spoke with Alou.
All right, thank you very much, Hannah. I'm now joined by Moises Alou. He's batting .350 in these series, 3 home runs and 9 RBIs, and most of that has been done with a cold and a flu. I guess in this instance, it's been pretty good. How are you feeling tonight?
Oh, I feel a lot better just coming here to the warmer weather. I feel a lot better. I didn't feel very good in Cleveland because it was cold. Plus, I had a cold, and but I tried to block that out, and I did pretty good. And even though I was freezing out there, I try to remind myself every inning that it was warm, but it wasn't. But I felt warm, and I just happened to get some good pitches to hit, and I took advantage.
Let me ask you, Moises, your father hasn't been here for the series. Felipe, the manager of the Montreal Expos. Do you wish he was here tonight to see this?
I wish he was here, but I understand him because he needed a rest. I mean, he needed to get away from media. I know if he was here, the media was going to be all over him, and he's in the Dominican. I talked to him this morning. He's having a good time. He's enjoying the series. He congratulated me. My oldest son was over his house today, and he feels good, so he told me he was going to watch the game tonight, and hopefully I can put a good show for him.
Good luck to you tonight, Moises.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's send it back upstairs now to Hannah.
Thanks, Jim. Well, Jim Leland told me the key thing about Alou is he's so much more relaxed now because he's got guys like Gary Sheffield and Bobby Bonilla hitting ahead of him in the lineup, so they're leading RBI man all season. He's doing it again in the World Series.
But you mentioned somebody who never relaxes. The Marlins have been called the best team money can buy, but there are dozens of owners who found out that dollars alone can't win championships. And the best investment the Marlins made in the offseason may have been the hiring of their leader, Jim Leland. The manager is next. Check, first pitch less than 14 minutes away. We rejoin you from Miami, where the shirts of polo variety have replaced sweaters and sandals have replaced moon boots.
I liked your moon boots, but you didn't have to wear them again today, Keith.
They're on exhibit now.
Well, Jim Leland is right at home in this climate. He started his career in professional baseball in 1964, about 100 miles north of here in the Florida State League. And tonight, he is poised to realize the dream of every person who dedicates their lives to this game.
My theme when I came here was one heartbeat, and I kind of stole a little bit of that from Bobby Cox. I'll never forget this. Bobby and I were talking one day in Atlanta, and just in a sentence, he kind of used that, and I picked up on that. So when I came here, I used that as our theme, really, you know, one heartbeat. And not just the players, myself, the coaches, but the entire front office, and hopefully our fan base, you know, one heartbeat, and, you know, and we're going to go for it.
I guess the name speaks for itself. He's a father figure for myself. You know, I got my start with Jim Leland, and he's taught me a lot about the game. And just to be able to hear his voice on the phone this morning was chilling, so to speak, because it was nice to be able to hear that voice again.
Bobby and I have a great relationship. We came close in Pittsburgh. You know, I talked to Don Zimmer this morning. I talked to Gene Lamont, Tony La Russa. Those are the people that you really share it with. I've kind of dedicated this to the minor league managers that are in winter ball right now, to the guys that are coaches that were like Jim Leland 20 years ago and think that they'll never get a chance. And they're down there, and you know, the major leagues, let alone the World Series, seems miles and miles apart, you know, and maybe another world for those people. So, you know, I got my break. I worked hard. I don't apologize for it, but I was very lucky. There's a lot of other people that were as good as me that never got a chance. But this is kind of for those guys down there that, you know, don't lose sight of the fact that it can happen. Just work hard.
I was thinking about it from Jimmy's point of view, and I was referring it to like a golfer, you know, one of those great golfers yet to win a major. And I didn't want him to go down without winning one.
Well, you know, I don't really want to think about that right now just yet, but I mean, that would be the ultimate. I mean, there'd be a lot of things there's a lot of things that have gone on that, you know, will always be lasting memories for me, the friendships I've had over the years and the people I met, but I guess the ultimate would be to have our name on that trophy. That'd be the ultimate.
Well, as you can hear, it's getting pretty wild out here in the stadium, and wild around the Leland household, too. He has no less than 16 house guests, so got away from all the distractions today, left the house early, had a nice lunch with his buddy Don Zimmer, and tried to keep things as normal as possible.
20 years ago tonight, Jim Leland was the manager of the Lakeland, Florida Tigers. He had a couple of familiar heroes for him on Thursday night. It was Livan Hernandez and Moises Alou who put the Marlins a win away.
Miami, Game 6 is just moments away, but first, the national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the third base area, where tonight's colors will be presented by the Florida Army National Guard. And now, to honor America, please welcome Grammy Award-winning Virgin Records recording artist and Miami's own John Sakata.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets make glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
It's time to play ball. We turn it over to Bob Costas, Joe Morgan, and Bob Uecker after these messages.
It's almost time for Game 6, and so it is time to welcome aboard Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker, and Hall of Famer Joe Morgan. Let's talk pitching. In Game 2 of this World Series, Joe, we saw Kevin Brown lose for the first time in almost 3 months.
Well, Bob, he will have to pitch better this game than he did in Game 2. In Game 2, he was having problems with his release point. When he stays on top, he gets a great sinking action on his fastball. Great late movement. It's almost impossible to hit. But when he drops down sidearm and he doesn't keep his arm up, the ball moves laterally across the strike zone and becomes nothing but a mediocre fastball. He has proven that he has the attitude, the determination, and the stuff to win the big game. as he did when he beat the Atlanta Braves to get them to the World Series. All he has to do tonight is find his release point, be consistent with his sinker, and who knows, the Marlins may win their first World Series.
Now, his opponent tonight, Chad Ogea, was just 8-9 for the season, but that's misleading. He pitched well in September, and he's pitched very well in the playoffs and World Series.
Well, he beat Kevin Brown in that big ball game, and that has not been the problem. Ogea has done all right. He's not overpowering by any means, Bob. Pretty decent fastball, curve, and a change. The problem for Mike Hargrove's Indians has been the inconsistency in the bullpen. With the exception of Brian Anderson, who got a save in Game 4, Eric Plunk, Paul Ossenmacher, Jeff Juden, big hard-throwing right-hander, and normally reliable Mike Jackson have all had problems, along with one of baseball's best closers, Jose Mesa, who has yet to pitch in a save situation. Take a look at what happened. In the division series against the Baltimore Orioles, they won 4, didn't lose a game, had an earned run average of 3.03. In the World Series, Bob, it's been totally different. Earned run average 4.70. But that could change here tonight. They're a very capable bullpen in a must-win game.
And, of course, in Games 6 and 7 of the World Series, 6 if you're trailing, 7 for both clubs, who knows what the bullpen strategy might be. You could very well see starting pitchers used in relief. Let's go to Jim Gray for his pregame report. Jim?
All right, thank you very much, Bob. Well, I spoke to Jim Leland a short time ago, and Jim Leland told me here's what he told his team. First, he said, hey, guys, don't get caught up in this atmosphere. Don't start thinking about winning a championship. Don't start counting the outs down. Don't think about the 27th out. Think about the first out. He said, guys, I know you're nervous. I know you're anxious. I know you're excited. I'm all of that as well. Therefore, I'm not going to fill your heads with any of the details. I'm not going to allow you to be over-prepared tonight. Be under-prepared. Don't think about the situation. Just concentrate on the game and react. Bob?
Another crowd well in excess of 60,000 at Pro Player Stadium. Here's the Cleveland lineup. Through 5 games, despite the fact that they're trailing, they're hitting .338 as a team. That's one of the highest batting averages in World Series history. Sandy Alomar Jr. leading the way as his dream season continues. Only one member of a losing team in the World Series has ever been the series MVP, the Yankees' Bobby Richardson in 1960. If Cleveland loses this, Alomar could very well become the second because they will lose it if they do, despite his heroics. Here's the scouting report on Kevin Brown.
Well, Kevin Brown has an excellent sinking fastball, and as Joe said earlier, he's got to stay on top to get that kind of movement. He'll use the changeup very sparingly. Fastball will tail away from a left-handed batter. He'll try to pound you inside also. He's got an excellent sinking fastball if he can stay up on top. He'll try to stay off the outside corner against right-handers and then bust you inside. Here's the defense for the Florida Marlins. Unearned runs given up in the Division Series 1. In this World Series, 5 unearned runs against a normally reliable defense.
And Joe Conine being in the lineup at first base, a right-handed swinger, and sitting the sizzling hot left-handed hitting Darren Daulton down is simply a concession to the peace of mind of Kevin Brown.
Well, you're exactly right. Kevin cares more about his defense than the team's ability to score runs. He wants a good defensive team behind him because he figures he's going to be in a close ball game and keep the ball on the ground. So that's why Darren Daulton is not in this ball game.
And without the DH, Jim Eisenreich, who has also been hot, has to sit. And David Justice moves from DH for the Indians to left field. Bip Roberts settles in. Those are his postseason figures. He hit .302 during the regular year. And the first pitch is a called strike. Ken Kaiser has the plate. Ed Montague at first. Dale Ford at second. Joe West at third. Randy Marsh on the right field line. Greg Kosk calls the plays in left. Quickly 0-2.
We talk a lot about Kevin Brown's sinker, which we saw in the first pitch, but he also throw that riding fastball in sometimes on the left-handed hitter, as he did there with Bip Roberts. Throws a couple of different types of fastballs.
Up and in, ball 1. And he strikes him out to start Game 6.
Well, there's the sinking fastball that we talked about from Kevin Brown. Right on top of this pitch, and you can watch it dive down and away from Biff Roberts. He came upstairs with a high fastball, then right back to his strong suit. Watch the dive on this fastball. Down and away. Roberts trying to reach out and poke that ball to left field. No chance of strikeout.
Here's Vizquel. And Omar takes a strike. One and one. The starting pitching in this series, generally speaking, has been way beneath the standard you'd expect from World Series competitors. 2 balls and a strike. Coming into this game, only 2 of a possible 10 starters, combining the teams, have made it as far as the 7th inning. Chad Ogea went 6 2/3 in winning Game 2. Bouncing ball foul, and Livan Hernandez lasted into the 9th in winning Game 5 despite 8 walks. So the reliance on the bullpens has been a theme throughout this series, and those bullpens have not always come through. Ogea will have the ball in just a few minutes. Hit well to center field. Devon White chasing after it, makes the catch.
Well, he got the fastball up. That was not a sinker. He was trying to ride that one in, and he got it out over the plate, and Vizquel hit it hard. This was not his sinking fastball. It was a regular fastball.
Now Manny Ramirez, only 4 hits in the series, but 2 of them have been for the distance. Strike 1. Further evidence of what we were talking about earlier. The starters, both teams combined through 5 games, have an ERA of 7.5. It's the highest in World Series history to this point. 0-2.
There's that diving fastball again. As Joe said earlier, every once in a while Brown likes to throw that rider that will ride upstairs and away. But against certain hitters, and a guy like Ramirez, if you're going to throw that kind of a pitch, you better make sure it's up and out of the strike zone, because he can get on top of stuff that is not in that big 90-mile-an-hour range and hit you deep.
Ball 1 high. And Ramirez gets a piece of it. It holds at 1-2. In Kevin Brown's Game 2 loss, it can fairly be said that some of the hits off him were ground balls that had eyes, but that doesn't explain all of it. It was an off performance by his standards.
Well, he got a lot of ground balls, but they were finding holes. Once they find holes, they're base hits.
Again, the 1-2 pitch. Down low.
He jammed a couple of hitters in that game and had those little flares go into right field against him, and that happens against a sinker ball pitcher. They can beat you on the fists all day long, but every once in a while a right-handed batter is going to drop a little flare in the right.
Now the count is full. Just off the outside corner. And Ramirez is on first with 2 out.
Well, normally they try to stay in tight on Ramirez because they don't like him to get his arms extended. Brown misses in right there, and he comes back away and away again, and he ends up walking him. He was in and out on that pitch, on the pitches to Ramirez, he was trying to move the ball around. I see more of that today than I did see in game 2. He's throwing the riding fastball to the left-handed hitter's end, as well as trying to sink the ball away. So we're seeing 2 different fastballs. He has not thrown many sliders.
And Justice takes a strike. That walk was the 57th walk of this World Series in just over 5 games, already pushing a record. It has not been a pitching clinic.
And Gary Sheffield was 17 of those walks. I mean, it has been unbelievable, Bob, the lack of control. And again, sometimes pitching too carefully in situations where you really don't have to.
0-2.
See, that's the riding fastball there. That's not the sinking fastball. And he is using that more tonight than he did in game 2, especially against the left-handers. Watch, this pitch doesn't sink. He just overpowers him with the fastball upstairs.
Inside, he was ahead of Ramirez 0-2 and eventually lost him on a walk. And this ball is well hit down the right field line. Foul. Into the bullpen.
Well, that pitch was up on David Justice. He got out in front of it just a little bit and hooked it foul to right. He really didn't hit it that well. It didn't sound all that good. But again, if Brown's up there, that's where he has problems. That's where he's going to get hurt, in that area.
Bounce to second. Counsell flips it to Renteria. That takes care of Ramirez on the force, and the Marlins come up in the first. Jim Leland's lineup for game 6. Conine in for Dalton. No DH. Eisenreich riding the pine. And Moises Alou, a definite MVP candidate, along with Livan Hernandez, the way things stand right now. Chad Ogea.
Well, the thing that made him successful in game 2 is he was staying down and he was keeping them off balance. He used a lot of changeups. I expect him to have to use his fastball a lot more today, and maybe the curveball. Hitters will sit on the pitches that you got him out with the last time. They will be looking for the changeups. So I think he'll have to use his fastball a little bit more. And here's the defense. This is a very good defense. A lot of Gold Glove winners on the Indians ball club, and they usually make all the routine plays.
Grissom has won Gold Gloves in the past on the left side of the infield. Awarded Gold Gloves this year. Williams and Vizquel. Devon White fouls the first pitch back. Devon was slumping badly before game 5. Delivered a couple of doubles at Jacobs Field.
Well, Devon has always been a low fastball hitter, and he was missing those low fastballs till the last ball game.
Fastball high. Center. Grissom drifting under it. A look back at what Chad Ogea did head-to-head with Kevin Brown in game 2 of this series. This continued a trend of excellent pitching the last 6 or 7 weeks. He had a 3-start stretch in September where his ERA was 0.5. Then in the division series and LCS, he pitched well, but he got no run support from his team. The winner in game 2 of the World Series. A ball to Renteria.
And that's basically where you'll see Chad Ogea try to stay on a right-handed batter. Down and away, every once in a while, inside, down and inside.
Curveball for a strike.
I'm talking with Marquise Grissom before the game tonight, and playing behind Ogea, talking about playing behind Ogea. He said, for the most part, I play everybody to pull because he throws off speed. But if he's going to stay breaking stuff away from the right-handed batters, he'll move around toward right center, and that's where he is right now. There you see Marquise Grissom. Take a look at how far he is in the right center field, looking at second base, looking straight out to center field. He's a good 20 feet in the right center for Renteria.
Meanwhile, Justice fairly deep in left for a guy who hit only 4 home runs this year. Another breaking ball popped foul Ramirez over for a look, and Ramirez with the catch on the run right by the barrier. Nice play by Manny.
Well, a guy who doesn't get a lot of credit defensively, but a long run that time by Ramirez. A nice running catch in foul territory and right. He ran a long way for this ball. Here it is again, a slicing fly ball down the right field line off the bat of Renteria. Long run for Ramirez. He gets there in time, and right before the barrier makes the catch for the second out of the inning. Nice running play by Manny Ramirez. There it is.
So Sheffield hits with the bases empty.
I've been talking about Sheffield earlier. 17 walks, covers the whole postseason. He has 5 in the World Series.
Ogea's pitch was a breaking ball, belted, but foul. Into the mezzanine level.
Well, remember, Ogea hit Sheffield in the first game, and I was wondering if they were going to come inside with a fastball the first pitch to establish that. But he doesn't. He throws a breaking ball, and Sheffield just gets out in front of it.
Ogea's 0-1 pitch. Just low. And this ball is well hit to left. Justice going back and has it on the warning track. So the Marlins go out in order in the first. The view from the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes. It's based in Pompano Beach, Florida. The captain is Richard Daniels from Burbank, California. Top of the second, no score. Williams, Thome, and Alomar for Cleveland. Ball 1 from Kevin Brown. Ogea can't handle it at third base, and Williams is on.
Williams hits this ball sharply, and we'll get a look at Bonilla, see how quickly he moves and reacts to it. So that's an in-between hop. That's a pretty tough play. He may have been able to get his body over in front of it if he was moving a little better. He started in, and then he has to try to come up with the in-between hop, and just a tough play.
A tough chance, but no question, it's scored as an error.
Well, Matt Williams probably would have caught it, but he's a Gold Glover.
And now a strike to Thome. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
According to the scoreboard, that ball was scored a hit.
Right.
That's questionable. That is really questionable.
I think that it's because it was an in-between hop and he moved to his left. They gave him the benefit of a doubt.
I think Bobby Bonilla would probably tell you you should have made the play, and especially after some of those diving backhanded stabs he's made in the series thus far.
1-1 pitch. 2 balls and a strike to Thome. Watch it again and judge for yourself.
Now the ball is hit sharply by Williams, and Bonilla to his left. As Joe said, it's a little bit of an in-between hop, but a ball I think he should have caught. Gift base hit, if indeed it is, and I guess it is.
If you ignore him, Williams will take off. He stole 12 bases this year. Count to Thome. After a long slump that stretched back to mid-September, Thome has homered twice in this World Series. He also tripled off the top of the wall in Cleveland, narrowly missing a 3rd home run.
Well, the question is, will they send Matt Williams at first base here to try to stay out of the double play? We'll see how he plays it.
Not going. Ball 4. And now they'll have to deal with Alomar, who's hitting a mere .455 in this World Series. We mentioned some of these highlights earlier. Hitting .324, the 30-game hitting streak. He was over .350 at midseason. And in the World Series, eye-popping numbers. The RBI record is 12 by Bobby Richardson of the Yankees in 1960 in their wild 7-game loss to the Pirates. Alomar hits it foul. This is only game 6. He's got a chance to surpass that record for World Series RBIs. The Yankees somehow lost a World Series in which they won games 10-0, 12-0, and 16-3 in 1960. Richardson and Mantle went wild at the plate. Alomar had a Game 2 home run off Kevin Brown and really crushed it.
Well, that was that flat fastball he threw, but I think he's going to make sure he stays away from him in this at bat unless he gets the good sinker down and in. He's trying to get the ground ball here, so.
One and two.
You expect him to stay downstairs with either the slider or the sinker. Either one. He wants to make sure he gets the ball down so he can try to get the ground ball.
Fly ball to center field. Devon White. Sheffield also coming over. White calling him off. Sheffield nearly collides with him as White makes the catch.
That tells you how good Alomar is swinging the bat. That was a pretty good sinker out over the plate, and he was able to get underneath it. Normally you hit the top of that ball. Let's take a look at Kevin Brown's release point and see. That's pretty good there. He was out in here the last time. That's pretty good right there. See, that ball had a little movement on it, and he got up underneath it. Not on top like he would like to be, but not as bad as he was in game 2.
Here's Grissom hitting .444 in the series.
Grissom told me tonight, Bob, the one thing with Brown, and especially with him, he was talking about himself. He said, I got to make this guy bring the ball up. He tries to beat you on the fist. He'll go down and away with you. If you can make him bring the ball up and from time to time try to take him to right field, you can be successful.
2-0. After having his 15-game World Series hitting streak stopped in game 4, Grissom has fallen back behind the wild horse of the Osage, Pepper Martin, and Paul Molitor on the all-time list. Tapper foul, 2-1.
Well, this is a pretty good matchup because Grissom likes the ball down, and Brown will be trying to keep the ball down. So you have to match your strength, meaning Brown's strength, against Grissom's strength, and just see who wins this match. You can't change and try to go upstairs if you're Brown in this situation because you want the ground ball.
In all likelihood, this is the inning right here, this batter, because without the DH, Ogea is on deck. Inside, 3-1.
When you watch hitters work against Kevin Brown, and if he's throwing around the inside corner, not off, just around the inside corner, watch and see how many of these hitters beat down on that ball and how close they come to almost driving one off their shin or off that front foot.
Big pitch, and he walked him. So on a questionable infield hit and 2 walks, the Indians have him loaded.
Well, he starts by trying to bury him inside. Then he gets the good sinker out over the plate. He goes back inside again, but he is staying down. That's the main thing. He wants to keep the ball down, and he did so. But Marquise Grissom was very patient there.
We know Chad Ogea can bunt in a sacrifice situation. But that's not an order now. He swings and taps it foul. Hargrove has tried some daring things. It's not conventional because the force play is on with the bases loaded, but the squeeze is not out of the question. Now it probably is with 2 strikes.
Well, one thing about Chad Ogea, he's up there hacking against Brown. Those were 2 sinkers right down the middle, about belt high, and now Ogea stepping out to check with Jeff Newman down at third. Here's one of those places where you might see the breaking ball or even that big rider, that high rider fastball from Kevin Brown.
Tried to get him to chase it. 1-2.
Talking with Mike Hargrove before the game, and in talking about Ogea and hitting against Brown, he said, hey, Chad Ogea and Orel Hershiser are my 2 best hitting pitchers.
One thing I've noticed about Brown, it just seems like he's rushing himself every once in a while. You know, his body gets in front of his arm, and that's why he's not able to, you know, control all of his pitches. He just seems like he's rushing a little bit.
And Ogea gives him a battle. 2 years ago, the Indians, trailing 3-2, went on the road to Atlanta and lost Game 6 1-0 as Tom Glavine pitched the game of his life. Mark Wohlers worked the 9th, and they combined on a 1-hitter. Lost the game 1-0.
David Justice hit the home run that cost him the ball game.
Another 2-2 pitch. And another foul ball. It hit him in the batter's box. Had he been out of the box, he would have been out.
Ball almost bounced up and hit Ogea in the eye. I believe it got him on the cheekbone. Look at this. Sinker down, bounces up, and it did. It hit him in the cheek. Take another look. Watch this ball bounce off the ground or off home plate and hit Ogea right in the cheek, almost in the eye. But he's all right.
Johnson leaps to the peg, and by the time he comes down, the Indians are in front 2-0. Wow.
Well, Ogea kept battling him, and he finally got a fastball up and out over the plate. Now watch, he just lays the bat on the ball. Good hitting. Just past Conine. Now Gary Sheffield had a shot here. He didn't even think they were going to try it. He's in tight, but his throw is just too high. If this ball is down, he's got the runner, but it's just too high by the time Charles Johnson comes down and he scored. So Gary Sheffield did not think they were going to send him, and I think that's what caught him off guard.
Jeff Newman, the third base coach, very aggressive, sends Tomey, and basically his approach was the one you've talked about before, Joe. Make them make a good play. If they're going to make a good play and get us, we can live with that.
Well, I agree with you, but you know, when Gary Sheffield is playing in and a pitcher gets a base hit, he feels he has a shot to throw the guy out, and he didn't think they were going to run. You could see him look up to see if he was going, and then he let it go too high.
Biff Roberts struck out in the first.
Alan, the thing we talked about, Ogea and Hershiser being the 2 best hitting pitchers on this club. That's Kevin Seitzer. That's the ball that Ogea hit into right field. We're going to save that baby. Big base hit. 2 are in.
High to Roberts. What an inning. An infield single that could have been scored an error. 2 walks, and then a base hit by the pitcher, who really battled Brown, fouling off several. It was a good at-bat. 2-1.
The thing with a guy like Ogea, too, Bob, in picking up a base hit, I don't think he can play him very deep. That's why I think Sheffield should have had a play on that second runner, because he has to play him more shallow and right.
Hit through the box. Counsell has it. Flips to Renteria. On to first, a double play. And they're out of the inning. But not before they throw 2 on the board.
The 50th anniversary of the World Series on NBC Sports.
Let's take a look at his release point. See this? His release point is almost parallel to the ground. He doesn't have the angle that we showed you in the top of the show, and that ball stays up there. It doesn't sink. It just moves laterally across the hitting zone. Now we're going to show you the same pitch, and watch where it comes from. Instead of being up here 3/4 in that area, he's way down here, and that ball just does not sink. It just sails. Watch it. It doesn't sink. It just stays right up there, and Ogea was able to get enough bat on it to get it into the outfield. So he's still having problems, as far as I'm concerned, with his release point, and that's also the reason he's not throwing strikes consistently.
What a time for Ogea's first major league hit. He's given himself a 2-0 lead. Bobby Bonilla swings on the first pitch. Roberts skids to his knees to pick it up and throws him out. Bobby Bo upset with himself. He came in yesterday on the off day for treatment on the sore hamstring, and the warm weather should help a bit in contrast to the chilly climate in Cleveland. He does appear to be moving a bit better. Now Conine. Ball 1 to him.
That's surprising. I thought he hit most of his balls center and to right centers, but he has pulled 5 balls. 5-3-1. That's a good ratio for him.
Curveball is in there.
Chad Ogea again with that breaking ball. He's come twice with curveballs now to Conine, and let's see if he goes away here. Fastball out over the outside corner. Going inside.
That was outside, and it's given a ride to deep left center field. Grissom on the run. Grissom with a fine catch, almost 430 feet from home plate, and made it look almost nonchalant going to the basket catch.
Well, that's not fair. The guy hit the ball that far, and it's an out. I mean, just a great jump by Grissom. This is why he's one of the great center fielders in the game today. And look at this. He gets there in plenty of time, and he makes the catch. But he knows right now, he says, I got it. I still have plenty of room to go, so I'll just make the catch. I mean, that was a long drive.
You can read his lips.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the wow is for the ball staying in, not even so much for the catch.
Now Alou. Ball 1 to him.
Well, he made a mistake that time, Bob, wanting to throw inside. Alomar wanted that pitch inside. Ogea threw it away, a fastball away, and Conine really nailed it.
Would have been gone in a lot of parks. This is an asymmetrical ballpark, converted for baseball from its usual football configuration, and you've got that one area out there that's 434 feet from home plate, and it was nearly to that spot. 1-1.
Changeup. And that's the pitch that he was using so effectively in game 2.
Well, if Ogea watched anything that Hershiser did against Alou, he had success with him when he went down and away, made him chase breaking stuff. He got hurt when he threw that fastball up.
2 balls and a strike. Conine still muttering to himself, crushes a ball, and has just a long out to show for it.
They need to put an inner fence out there.
2-2.
That's 3 straight changeups that he has thrown to Moises Alou.
Down and away, full count. Chad Ogea, the former LSU star, was on the disabled list from late June until September 1st with elbow problems. Had a few starts in Buffalo, their AAA affiliate, rehabbing that injury, and suddenly becomes a big factor in the postseason. The 3-2. Tap foul. He was only, speaking of Ogea, 8-9 for the season. But he showed great composure in his Game 2 victory here over Kevin Brown. And now he's ahead of Brown in Game 6, 2-0.
Well, he has definitely been their best pitcher in the postseason. I mean, he's been just very consistent. Jarrett Wright has won a couple of ball games, but he hasn't been as consistent as Ogea.
Nearly threw that one to the screen. And Alou becomes the first base runner against Ogea with 2 out in the second. While you're watching today's game or tonight's game, don't forget that Barry Larkin is online right now answering your questions about the game and the series. Plus, you can see a photo journal of the series to date and listen to the post-game press conferences, all at MLBWorldSeries.com.
There he is.
Barry.
I spent all night answering a lot of stuff that didn't get on yesterday afternoon, too. Thanks to all those folks who hung around.
Fastball high to Charles Johnson.
Online yesterday. Was it the day before? I think it was the day before, wasn't it? Who would even care? Okay. I know you were going to say that. I know you were going to say that. Before you did, I said it.
A sky-high pop-up. Matt Williams comes in and puts an end to the Marlins' second. After 2 in Florida, 2-0 Cleveland.
Well, the one thing that Marquise Grissom does so well is, I mean, he just runs full out after this ball. He's going all the way hard. He gets there and he makes the catch. I mean, that's just a great catch there. But this is a big ballpark. Marquise sent his bat that he had the 15-game hitting streak with to the Hall of Fame. Now it's going to be on display.
1-1 to Vizquel, who first looked as if he might bunt, then on the second pitch looked like he might try the slug bunt.
Bobby Bonilla is playing him up very shallow at third. That's what he's going to have to do, slug bunt. He tried to punch one by Bonilla that time. Bonilla dropping back behind the bag, but as soon as Brown is ready to deliver, Bonilla moves up toward the plate.
Brown's 1-2 pitch. Still 1-2 to the Indian shortstop. In this series, you would think the biggest aspect of home field advantage would be presence or absence of the DH. But in Cleveland, Florida's DHs, Dalton and Eisenreich, were a combined 6 for 12 with a homer and 3 RBIs. Inside, well, David Justice, who had all the DH at-bats for Cleveland, went 2 for 11 with just 1 RBI in those 3 games. Now here, it's the Indian pitcher, Chad Ogea, who delivers a big base hit driving in 2. So it's turned that logic upside down. The 3-2 pitch. Fair ball by the diving Conine and down the line. Vizquel on his way to second. Sheffield has trouble with it, but Omar will hold with a double. Well, Vizquel had 2 hits against Brown in Game 2 and touches him for a double here. Conine's disposition is not improving. First, he's robbed of a hit by Grissom. Then he can't flag this one down, hit by Vizquel.
Well, we've talked about Vizquel from time to time and his ability to pull a ball. That was a bad hop over Conine, winds up as a double for Vizquel. But as I said, every once in a while, you make a mistake on him inside. He's not going to try to go the other way. He'll try to pull you. He did. He winds up with a double against Brown.
Jim Leland told us there are 16 people staying at his house. Friends, brothers and sisters, in-laws. He's running a dormitory.
I bet you there's some people who don't even belong there. I mean, people wandering in and out. Hey, let's lay down for an hour.
Get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
All here in anticipation of a world championship. But the Indians have something to say about that. Leading Game 6, 2-0. A man at second, nobody out as they bat in the third. And a strike to Manny Ramirez. last time Kevin Brown pitched a Game 6, it clinched the pennant. He went the distance, defeating the Braves and giving the Marlins a 4-2 victory in the League Championship Series. If he can win Game 6 here, they're the world champions.
Well, he actually struggled in the first 3 innings in Game 6 in Atlanta until he got better control of his sinking fastball, and then he pitched great for the remainder of the ball game.
The difference there was his teammates scored 4 runs in the first inning of that game. Here he trails 2-0. 1-2.
Now looking at opponents' average against Kevin Brown during the regular season, 240, division series 167. Look at the National League Championship Series and now the World Series at 417. So he's been hit hard. He hasn't really made the quality pitches that he normally can make. That's one of the better fastballs that he's thrown. And Joe talked about it, trying to get inside on Ramirez. This is a high inside fastball. Manny fights it off to foul it back. Watch this. Watch this ball bore in on Ramirez. Right there. You see those hands locked in tight against his body? Can't get extension on it.
And Ramirez steps out. Kevin Brown is 32 years old. He's from Macon, Georgia. He was 16-8 this year with an ERA of 2.69. His season included a no-hitter against the Giants. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Last year he won 17 and his ERA was under 2. And earlier in this decade he was a 20-game winner for the Texas Rangers. So he's been a quality pitcher for a long time.
For those 61 pitches, only 32 strikes.
The runner breaks for third. Here's the fake from Johnson, and Omar Vizquel steals it.
Kevin Brown was not paying a lot of attention to Vizquel, and the pitch before he almost took off, and this time he does. But it's a fastball up and in. Johnson comes up, he throws a strike, but not much you can do when a guy gets a jump like that. Now watch, he just takes off the split second before Brown goes to the plate. Bonilla gets there, but nothing he can do.
And now Ramirez lifts one to left center field that should at least get a run home. Devon White with Vizquel tagging makes the catch, and Omar can walk home. The stolen base proves to be huge. A daring play. They ignored him. Vizquel took advantage of it, got himself to third, and he comes home on the sacrifice fly. 3-0 Cleveland.
But also a very good job by Ramirez to get that ball into the air. You know, Brown has a good sinker, and he got the ball in the air to get the run home. Vizquel's the only one that has stolen for the Indians in this entire series. He has 2 stolen bases. Now he's 2 out of 2.
Despite a great throw by Johnson, as you said, Brown only took a token look back at him, never made any kind of a move other than that, just a token look and fired, and he took off on it.
Here it is again.
Well, look at Brown. He just takes a token look at Vizquel, turns around, and as soon as he does, as soon as he started looking toward the plate, Vizquel broke, and he's in there easily, despite a heck of a throw.
The 1-0 pitch to Justice is line foul.
Mike Hargrove told us that despite the fact that Johnson's a fine receiver and a very, very good throwing catcher, he said, hey, you've got to go sometimes. You can't, despite the fact that this kid is that good, you've still got to run. You've got to try and move people, and if you get a jump, some of these guys are on their own. They've got to go.
1-2. Of course, Brown has a history of being able to settle into a groove, so Hargrove may be thinking, while he's a little bit shaky, let's jump on him right now, because who knows, he may settle in and reel off 11-12 retired in a row.
Well, he's definitely capable of doing that.
His 2-2 pitch to David Justice. Again, way out in front. Justice hit .329 for the regular season with 33 home runs. He has just 1 home run in the postseason. Hits it the other way. Bonilla had him played perfectly. Almost pulled Conine off the bag, but the out is recorded.
Well, you talk about hitting charts and why they have them, why you play certain hitters certain way, and why you pitch them certain way. They went away on Justice. Bonilla playing way off the line. Justice trying to go that way, and he hits a ball right at Bobby Bonilla. Despite a bad throw to first, they make the play 5-3. That's why they have the hitting chart. If you pitch guys the way they're supposed to be pitched, for the most part, you're going to have a chance to make plays on people.
It was Matt Williams' ground ball toward Bonilla that started the 2-run second. It was scored as a hit, though Bonilla appeared to have a good opportunity to field it. Two out here, nobody on, and a run home, making it 3-0 Cleveland. In the air to left, Alou makes the play. A double by Vizquel, a stolen base, and Ramirez's sacrifice fly make it 3-0.
Well, let's take a look at his arm position here. This is where you want it to be. Remember, we showed you one last time, it was almost there. Now watch this ball really bore in. Look at that movement on it. And it jams Matt Williams. And watch from this angle. We showed you exactly where he was throwing from before. And right there, you get the good movement. Right up there, it was down here. And that ball really bores in and just hits him right on the fist. That's what he's trying to do if he stays on top.
Ogea to Craig Counsell, a called strike as we move to the bottom of the third. Brown is on deck, trailing 3-0. Misses the outside corner, a ball and a strike. Counsell was hot against the Giants and the Braves. He's cooled off in the World Series against Cleveland. Change up, 1-2.
He's got a really good change of pace. Talking about Chad Ogea. Every once in a while, he'll take something off the curve too. He'll make the curveball as a change of pace. But that straight change, and if you watch his delivery, if you watch his movement, when he lets that ball go, it looks fastball till he lets it go. Another one.
Called strike 3. The first strikeout for Ogea. Hey, folks, don't miss this week's match. The last thing you want to see is a child exploding, so I certainly hope things work out all right. Kevin Brown takes a fastball inside.
One of the few things I'll go along with you on that.
Yeah, I knew we could find a point of agreement. The series went on long enough.
Been together a month.
2-0.
Well, when Mike Hargrove told us that Ogea and Hershiser were among the best hitting pitchers on his club, here's another guy for the Marlins that likes to go up there hacking too. As a matter of fact, Jim Leland back in the league championship series put on a hit and run with this guy at the plate.
Strike 1.
Taking 2-0 like any good hitter. Although if I was a pitcher, 2-0, I'd be hacking.
In the air to left, back goes Justice to the edge of the track, pounds the glove and takes it.
Darn it. That was a fastball from Ogea, and Brown got under a little bit. He had a good whack at it and put Justice on the warning track. If you don't think pitchers love to hit, they do it in batting practice anyway. And against a guy like Ogea who doesn't have that really big breaking ball, pretty much standard fastball, curve, and a change. Kevin Brown stayed right in there, had a good whack at it, and goes out on a fly ball to left.
Bringing up White, who flied to center his first time, down and in for a ball. Kevin Brown gets locked in, whether at the plate or on the mound, into a certain zone mentally and emotionally, and his expression seldom changes. Hop back to the seats.
Well, there's no doubt that he dances to the different drum beat. You know, I mean, that's the way he is. I mean, everyone on this team is aware of how he feels when he's on the mound, and they usually try to leave him alone. They usually stay away from him. Well, there he is by himself.
Look at him. He has the look of a man who's just been told they're foreclosing on his house. And you notice No one comes over to try and chat with him. You just keep your distance. Two-one pitch, line to left, and that's the first base hit off Ogea.
Well, the Marlins need for Devon White to get hot because he's their leadoff hitter, and he hasn't scored a run in this series, although he's perking up the last 2 days. So they need for him to get on base. He fights this fastball off and rips it to left field. Good hitting there by Devon White. But they need for him to score some runs for them.
Chad Ogea walking back toward the mound after that base hit and pointing his palms down, saying to himself, keep the ball down, keep the ball down. That was a high fastball.
The runner breaks. Here's the throw from Alomar, and White steals second.
And Ogea did the exact same thing Brown did. He gave him a token look, and Devon White had a great jump. No chance for Alomar to throw him out on this play. Now watch, he just gets a great jump. I mean, he's going, he looks like he's going in full speed instead of slow motion. Great jump there by Devon White.
Well, and a super throw by Alomar. There it is. Joe said, token look over there. White lights out for second. I mean, he's gone, and despite a good throw, that's as good as you can throw it. He got rid of it very quickly, threw it right on the bag to Vizquel, but no chance for Devon White.
So with 2 out, Renteria has a chance to knock a run home. Ogea's 1-0 pitch. Line to center. Grissom almost in his tracks. No runs, a hit, and a man is left. We played 3, and it's 3-0 Indians.
He wants Ogea to stay up on top, and especially with the fastball and that little changeup that he throws, instead of getting out underneath it. And he's done all right so far.
Thome starts it in the Cleveland 4th. A called strike, 1-1. Ken Kaiser, who had a tough time at first base in Game 5, has done a very good job behind the plate so far in Game 6.
Well, he has been consistent with his calls.
Thome wraps one to Counsell. 1 out. This game is a long way from over, but with the score 3-0, your mind does drift toward a possible Game 7, where Al Leiter is the scheduled starter for Florida, and where Mike Hargrove is saying that as of now, Charles Nagy is the likely choice, but far from certain. He might go to the rookie right-hander Jarrett Wright, and then he threw a third name in, the young left-hander Brian Anderson. A ball to Alomar. So this is the best guess, but obviously in a Game 7, everybody's available, just about. Hit to the hole. Renteria from the outfield grass. Got him.
Wow, what a cannon on that kid. Well, I want to tell you, that's as good as an arm that you'll ever want to see on a shortstop. Watch this. This ball is hit to the hole by Alomar. Renteria from the outfield grass. He's a couple of steps. Watch this rocket. Oh, man, got him by a step. What a play by Renteria. Again, deep in the hole, couple of steps on the outfield grass, and he throws Alomar out by a step. Beautiful play.
Here's Grissom. Strike 1.
It seems when Brown's speed is in the 92 and maybe a little below, he's getting a little more movement on the ball. When he gets up to around 90 plus 93, 94, it doesn't seem to have much movement.
He looks like he slowed himself down a little bit too, Joe, not rushing.
Two balls and a strike.
I wonder about this radar gun. You and I were talking about it today, Joe. I mean, some of these guys, I know they throw good, but I know they're not in the 97 and 98 mile-an-hour range.
2-1 pitch, cut on and missed as the sinker dips low.
Saw Nen a couple of days ago throwing 100 miles plus, 101 and 102. And you know, they talk about a fast gun and a slow gun. I think they're using the fast gun.
On the inside corner, and Kaiser punches him out. Grissom not exactly in agreement. If If you want to learn more about the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes, you can check it out on the internet, www.goodyear.com, and click on At the Controls. www.goodyear.com, At the Controls. It's Chad Ogea who's in control right now. His base hit drove in 2. Later, the Indians tacked on another one. He's allowed only 1 hit through 3, and now he faces Sheffield. He jammed Gary his first time up. Sheffield's so strong he muscled it to the warning track and left anyway, where Justice caught it. Strike 1.
You know, that shot of Ogea, close-up of Ogea, and looking at him. When's the last time we saw perspiration? We haven't seen it for about 4 or 5 days in Cleveland.
Talked to Sandy Alomar Jr. about how he gives his signs. He says on the road he sticks his fingers down real low so they can see him at home. You know, they are able to see him against the white uniform, so he says he doesn't have to stick him down as far, and that's why he does it differently at home than he does on the road. And we're wondering about that last time because he sticks him so low. Watch how low he puts him. Well, he didn't get too low that one.
Not that time.
Yeah.
So the difference is road grays as against home whites, huh?
Good pitch by Ogea.
Let's see if it stays in. No, it drifts toward the bullpen and out of play.
That was one of the things they always told you about catching, to make sure you hid the signs. I mean, you got them inside far enough where the first base coach couldn't look in there and see them on you. And Alomar, from time to time, as we've pointed out, he sticks his hand way down low. I mean, you can almost see it from behind him. Not now, though.
Another 0-2 pitch. He reaches for it, rolls it to short. Vizquel on to Tomey, 1 out.
Well, this guy's doing a heck of a job talking about Chad Ogea. Fastball that time down low and away on Gary Sheffield. He tried to pull it, and he gets that weak little ground ball to short. Sheffield, as we've seen in the series on certain pitches, has gone to right and right center. He's taken balls away and hit them that way. Double off the wall in right center in Cleveland. He's had a couple of singles up the middle, driving in big runs.
Ogea grounded to second his first time up and takes low. This is Bobby Bonilla's hitting chart postseason only.
Well, they've been throwing him a lot of changeups and off-speed pitches. That's why he's pulling everything. There's another one, and it's very difficult for a left-handed hitter like Bobby Bonilla to go the other way on a changeup.
Ogea has done very well, obviously, allowing only 2 base runners, 1 hit, and a walk. But what does this tell you? 7 fly balls already from a guy who you hope will keep the ball down. Is that any sign that should be of concern to Mike Hargrove?
Well, not as long as they're being caught. But by the same token, he's going to have to use his changeup, and the changeup will get you the fly ball. If you get a hitter out in front, he will pop it up. He's not using the sinker as much. It looks like he's spotting the fastball better, but it's not a sinking fastball. See, that's
2-1 pitch and another pop into shallow right. Ramirez in, Roberts out. Now he wants it.
You can see that ball was not a sinker. That's the point. That's why they're hitting fly balls rather than ground balls. He is not really throwing a sinking fastball. Watch this pitch. You'll see it stay on the same plane. This is not a sinker. Watch the pitch. See, it stays there. It's not a sinking fastball. That's why he hits it in the air. And Bobby Bo just kind of takes a leisurely jog down the first base.
Well, he was here yesterday on the day off for treatment on the injured leg, and Jim Leland said he's fine tonight. We asked him if he was 100%. He said, hey, he's fine. He's told us that each and every day. He's fine.
Well, Leland has a different definition of fine than some people, because Bonilla was really limping around in Cleveland.
Yeah, when he said Alex Fernandez was fine, that kind of tipped me off.
Here's the 1-0 pitch to Conine, and he hits one solidly to left. Coming on is Justice for the skidding catch. And look at Conine, robbed twice on 2 bullets tonight. On to the 5th, and Chad Ogea is the leadoff man against Kevin Brown. First pitch, another base hit. Depending upon how hard he wants to run, maybe extra bases. Looking for a double. Sheffield's throw, not in time. How about this?
Well, this is not a bad pitch by Kevin Brown. This ball is down and away from Ogea. Watch this pitch. It's down and away. He goes right with it. Davey Nelson's out there at second base talking with him. Watch this pitch. Down and away. He goes right with it. Hits it past a frustrated Conine into the right field corner for a double. And there's nothing on Ogea's mind but second base. Look at that. He's motoring. He's got his eyes on Gary Sheffield. Hey, watch the slide here.
Now Roberts goes the other way and drops one in front of Alou for a hit. Ogea will stop at third. Runners at the corners, nobody out in the 5th, already leading 3-0.
Larry Rothschild to the Marlins bullpen. That pitch to Roberts was up and away, and he went right with it. Here you see Conine, who's hit the ball hard twice. I mean, he almost hit one out here, caught by Grissom in deep left center. Then he hits a bullet to Justice that he catches. Pitcher leads off. It's a double past him down the right field line, and now the base hit by Roberts.
Felix Heredia, the left-hander, and Alfonseca, the right-hander, up. Vizquel, who doubled his last time, takes low. Center field, shallow. White coming in, might be trouble. Devon White makes a running catch. The runners will hold as Peg comes all the way into the plate. Bip Roberts, who had some troubles with the flu and had to come out of one game in Cleveland, might be feeling queasy again. Listen to his conversation with Dave Nelson.
You feeling terrible? Hey, buddy, you know what? You got to gut it out, baby. That's right. You got to gut it out. I may never get here again in my life. That's right. You may not ever. But you know what? Yeah. After tomorrow, buddy, you got all winter to rest up and get ready. Okay.
Well, I think the important thing there is he said, I may never get here again. You don't ever take it for granted that you're going to get to the World Series year in and year out.
Ramirez has walked and hit a sacrifice fly. And this might be another one. Right center field. Sheffield and White. Ogea tagging. White for the catch. Ogea heads for the plate. The throw is into second. 4-0 Cleveland. And Ogea right in the middle of 3 of those 4 runs.
And another good job by Ramirez to get him home. 2 sacrifice flies.
Interesting to see later on as this game moves along if this base running is going to affect Chad Ogea. Double to lead it off. Then to third on the base hit. And then a long run on the sac fly by Ramirez to score. Al Oral Hershiser, if you'll remember back to game 1 when Hershiser tried to bunt for a base hit. Remember that? And he tried to beat it out. He was really pounding down the line. And up until that time, he was really pitching very well. But he came out to pitch in that inning, in the bottom half of that inning, and that's when the Marlins really rocked him.
Of course, Ogea is considerably younger than the 39-year-old Hershiser.
But I still think it takes something out of you, Bob. I mean, it's warm, it's humid tonight, and it's the end of the year. And Ogea, as you were talking at the top of the telecast, was out for a great part of the season, so he doesn't have the innings in that a guy like Hershiser or some of these other Indian starters have. But it's still, it gets to you. I mean, the fact that you're out there, and he's not one of those overpowering guys, though. A lot of changeups, off-speed stuff. Doing a good job here tonight.
Now Brown works to Justice, who swings at the first pitch. Now, does that go against the wisdom that used to prevail when you were a player? Your pitcher just had to make a run. Maybe you take a pitch or two to give him a bit more time to rest in the dugout?
Well, they think he's a hitter tonight. They're not thinking of him as a pitcher to them.
He's one of them.
Yeah, he's one of the guys tonight.
Roberts gets back.
You know, we talked to Roberts before the game tonight, Bob. He really didn't look that good. You know, he said I feel fairly decent, but when you looked at him and talked to him, he just kind of looked like he was a little queasy.
A ball and a strike to Justice, who was grounded out twice. Roberts thought the warmer weather here might lead to his feeling better, but he's struggling a bit. Brown to Justice on 1-1, rolled foul.
One thing the Indians have done tonight is they've played great, fundamentally sound baseball. I mean, they get a runner to second, they get him home. 2 sacrifice flies from Ramirez. I mean, they have played very, very well. They've stolen bases. They've done everything tonight. They've been very aggressive, which I think is good. Sometimes you get conservative when you're on the brink of elimination. They've gone the other route.
And they've got him picked off. Roberts hung up, Conine running him back and tagging him. But not before Cleveland adds another one to make it 4-0. Well, the thought occurs to me it's a good thing the Colorado Rockies didn't win the National League pennant. Otherwise, we'd be snowed out for Game 6 and probably snowed under for Game 7. Pip Roberts is out of the game. Let's check with Keith Olbermann.
2 innings ago, Bob, Pip made the universal sign for nausea, and they gave him the proverbial pink liquid, and he was struggling. And after that base hit and being picked off, the decision was made, discretion being the better part of valor. He's out of the game. The Indians bench also wants to remind us that as to Chad Ogea's stamina, he is from Louisiana, in addition to having pitched at LSU, and this is his kind of weather. Bob?
Keith, thanks a lot. Moises Alou starts it. A curveball on the inside edge, says Ken Kaiser. Tony Fernandez is the new second baseman. A ball and a strike. Ogea has allowed only a 2-out walk to Alou in the second and a 2-out single by Devon White in the third. White stole second. That's the only man to get as far as second base against Ogea tonight. Two and 1.
If the Marlins are going to get back in this game, they're going to have to be very patient, stop chasing the changeups out of the strike zone, and make sure you get a good pitch to hit every at bat.
This ball is belted into left. It gets down for a hit and goes to the wall. Justice is on it quickly, and Alou is going to be held to a single. Justice, the DH in Cleveland in the middle games, back in left field tonight, and he's turned in 2 outstanding plays.
Well, the thing I can't believe is how deep he was playing here and how shallow he was playing for Conine. Conine, he took a single away from him by playing shallow. I mean, this ball is ripped, but he is so deep. I mean, look at this. I mean, he gets there, the ball bounced off the wall, and he's right there. His throw was high, and Lou would have made it easily, but, you know, you're down 4 runs, you have to be careful.
Charles Johnson, who popped up his first time. So Alou continues his World Series rampage. He was hitting .350 with 3 homers entering the game. He's walked and singled tonight. Ball 1 to Johnson.
That's what you have to do. Stay off of those off-speed pitches that are low. If he gets the off-speed pitch up, you can hammer it, but you have to make sure it's up.
Mark Wiley talking to the Indians bullpen. Again, despite the fact he's from Louisiana. Despite that fact, I was going to say, Bob, it's your legs that go. I don't care your body-wise. I mean, you're used to the heat and everything else, but the running, the pounding your legs take, lifting up and down on the mound, pushing off the rubber, and then you have to run beside. That's what takes it out of you, not the fact that you can stand the heat and the humidity.
Bounced foul.
Well, Johnson was patient. He got a pitch to hit. but he tried to pull it. It was right down the middle. He didn't do much with it, but at least he got himself a good pitch to hit. And that's what you have to do when you're, especially when you're behind. Make that pitcher get you out. Don't get yourself out.
Two-one pitch, line to left for a base hit.
Well, I think Ogea is making the same type of pitches, but you have to remember they've faced him in game 2, and now they've seen him a couple of times in this game. This is a good breaking ball from him. It's down. Now watch Johnson go down and get it. See, that's a good pitch. It may not even be a strike, but he's right on it. As long as you make him get that breaking ball up or the off-speed pitch up, you can hammer him. So I think it's more that they're just getting accustomed to what he's been doing to them, and they're making some adjustments.
You look at the Indians outfield now. I think this is an indication of how Ogea is starting to throw. Earlier in the game, the Indians outfield playing for the most part straight away. I talked about Marquise Grissom saying that if indeed he starts to go to off-speed stuff, the curve and the changeup, that he's going to move around to pull. The meeting at the mound now, and Ogea says, I'm all right, I want to stay in, but the Indians bullpen is busy.
Let's quickly check with Jim Gray.
All right, Bob, after counsel is at bat, Jim Leland had decided that Darren Daulton would hit for Kevin Brown. He sent him into the on-deck circle, had him warming up and swinging. Then he had a change of heart, pulled Daulton back, and Kevin Brown, it appears, will bat in his place and stay in the game.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with what counsel does. You've got to get back in this ball game. You can't assume that, hey, if we have to play tomorrow, we'll win. You try to win it right now, and you have to get back in this ball game. And Brown is still struggling.
Williams in close at third. No sign of the bunt. Counsell takes a ball. Consecutive singles by Alou and Johnson to open the 5th. 2 on, nobody out. The 1-0 pitch, grounded to Tomey. He turns and pegs to second. That's 1. And Vizquel will hold it and be content with the force. Moving to third is Alou. First and third with 1 out. And now here comes Daulton.
Well, you have to get back in this game. You have a chance here, you know, to get back in the game. And like I said, it wasn't like Brown had settled down and was pitching well. You know, if he was throwing well, you might do that. But right now, you've got to try to get back in this ball game.
I agree with you, Joe. Now's the time. It's the 5th inning. This is not, it's not early in this game. This game is starting to move along, moving into the 6th and down by a score of 4-0. Now's the time. Here's one of the hottest hitters in the series. And Jim Leland told us it was a struggle to keep him out of the lineup tonight.
He was really zeroed in Cleveland. Everything he hit, even the occasional outs, the foul balls, everything sizzled off his bat.
Well, Conine has swung the bat well tonight, but the only reason he was in there was because of Brown's penchant for defense.
First pitch, hit solidly to right. Ramirez is there for the catch. Alou tags. Manny's throw, cut off, sacrifice fly for Darren Daulton, who got another good rip.
I tell you what, they've hit a lot of balls real hard off Ogea that have been caught. You know, Conine said a couple of it. They're actually hitting him much better than the score would indicate. They've hit a lot of balls hard. They've made some great plays in the outfield to save them. And Daulton just walked up there, got him a pitch, and ripped it. He just hit it too hard.
Well, they talk about throwing strikes and making hitters hit the ball, giving everybody a chance to play behind you, despite the fact that he's getting hit hard here. And we talked about him maybe being a little bit tired, his legs running on empty maybe. That ball hit by Ramirez, hit at Ramirez, a line drive by Daulton, and luckily he didn't get under it. Here it is again. He smokes this ball to right field. Manny Ramirez makes the catch, but the Marlins get a run. They're on the board. This is a bad throw by Ramirez. I don't know where he was throwing this ball, but Jim Tomey cut it off. The run is in. They're on the board.
4-1 Cleveland. Counsell at first with 2 out. And the pitch to Devon White is a strike. So for the second time in this World Series, Kevin Brown proves to be ineffective. He's done after 5 innings of work. Well, Don Fear, just 1 row behind Bud Selig. Paul Beeston, new CEO of Major League Baseball. Relations appear to be cordial. You can't enjoy a World Series game together. I guess there'd be no chance for smiles. 2-1.
If the Marlins would have had this approach from the beginning of the ball game, they may have a couple more runs. They are making him get them out now. They're making him throw strikes, and they're getting good rips at him. Devon has taken 1 strike, and he's laid off a couple of pitches just out of the strike zone.
2-1 pitch, jolted to right. Ramirez racing toward the line. It drops. Manny fires it back in as Counsell heads for third. Stopped there by Rich Donnelly. And the Marlins begin to get to Ogea in the 5th.
Well, again, I think the running by Ogea and the base hit, the double, he's got a couple of hits tonight. The double, they chased him home with a base hit, and he's laboring here a little bit. This pitch is up on Devon White. I think he's lost a little velocity. He isn't making the pitches. They hit some balls against him earlier tonight that were caught. That's the name of the game. Who cares how you get somebody out as long as you get them out? But that pitch was up on Devon White, and he ripped it to the corner in right field. Good play by Ramirez to cut it off before it got into the corner for a double and another RBI.
Jackson the righty, Anderson the lefty.
Well, that tells you that Brian Anderson's not going to start tomorrow's ball game. So if it goes 7, it's down to Jared Wright and Charles Nagy.
Here's Renteria. Ball 1 to him, blocked by Alomar. You got to be careful about White possibly taking off. He stole a base the last time he was on, and if in this situation he steals, you put yourself in a spot where a mere single by Renteria pulls them to within 1.
I actually think it's a good idea for him. One thing about Ogea, he's very slow to the plate. Most pitchers who throw a lot of off-speed pitches are slow to the plate because they have to get their arm on top and get in position to throw the ball. So he can get the jump. It's just a matter of whether he wants to go or not.
Not going. Strike 1. Coming into this inning, the Marlins had only 1 hit off Ogea. In this inning, 3 singles, plus a very solid sacrifice fly to right from Dalton. There he goes on the 1-1 pitch, and Renteria fouls it off.
And Alomar wasn't going to have any chance. I mean, Ogea is just very slow to the plate. He has a high leg kick, and Devon White is taking advantage of that.
Got that little walking lead again, Joe. I mean, he checked him over there. Ogea checked over there just momentarily, and Devon White watched this walking lead. There he goes. I mean, he's off and gone, and Ogea with that little token look over there, and again, the move.
This World Series, a game that appeared to be lost for the Marlins. He pitched 2 1/3 scoreless innings at Jacobs. It reasonably close, gave his team a chance to come back. It was 7-3 when he came in. Pitched 2 1/3, allowed only a walk, no hits, no runs. Next thing you know, Marlins draw even, and eventually with the 7-run ninth, they win it 14-11. A liner to left center field, coming on as a Lou. Coming in one. Now Matt Williams, who has an infield hit, and he's lined to left.
And this is what he's done in the postseason. You know, of course, he's at 17 hits, 8 of them to left field. Matt Williams started swinging the bat well this summer when he started using the biggest part of the field, hitting a lot of balls to left center and right center. And that's how he raised his average and how he got back on the hitting streak he was in. Swing and a miss, 0-2 as Heredia took something off.
One of those 8 base hits by Williams, that long home run in Cleveland, and I mean, he really hit it.
That was the coup de grace in Game 4. Made it 10-3. Fastball got him.
Beautiful pitching there. I mean, this is beautiful pitching by Heredia. I mean, he gives him a first pitch fastball that he fouls off. Then he throws him a beautiful changeup. Now he busts him back inside. See you later. Nice pitching there by Heredia. And I mean, we've been impressed with Heredia and all these other relievers. I mean, Dennis Cook has done a great job for him, although he hasn't pitched that much. So I still like their bullpen. I really do.
Ball 1 to Tomey. Let's take a look at what the bullpen has done collectively in the postseason.
2.81 is a good job. Yeah. And you have to remember, you know, Rob Nen has not been in the save situation, but so he hasn't pitched that well.
There has to be some concern about the way Nen pitched in Game 3, where he came in with the score 14-7 in the 9th inning, and before you knew it, it was 14-11 with a man on base and one hitter away from bringing the tying run to the plate in what should have been a laugher. Then he came in with a score 8-4 in Game 5, and it wound up 8-7.
I'm sure Rob Nen is going to tell you he's a Florida guy. He likes this weather better, better than he does that.
He likes that kind of game action.
Yeah,
I like it down to the wire. I'll tell you what, anybody throws 98, 99 miles an hour, I'll take him anytime.
Well, he was just trying to make it interesting, perhaps. A 3-0 pitch. Tomey has a green light and fouls it back.
I talked to him before the game tonight, Bob, talking about Jim Tomey, and I said, you look like you're really starting to get locked in. And going back to that game where Dennis Cook, where he had the really good at bat against Dennis Cook, the left-hander, and really started to swing the bat well, he said, I'm really starting to feel a lot better. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting locked in. I'm really on pitching. And this is the kind of a guy he ought to do well against. He doesn't have that real big breaking ball. Heredia.
Fastball for a called strike, 3-2. Heredia is just 21 years old. It's from the Dominican. 6 feet tall, 185. He was 4-0 with an ERA under 2 at the All-Star break. And after that, went 1-3, and his ERA was up around 8. But he straightened himself out for the playoffs and World Series. And his 3-2 pitch to Tomey. Struck him out after being behind him 3-0. So he comes in, works a perfect 6th with 2 strikeouts. Well, Terrell Davis and the rest of the Broncos only hoping they make it to Buffalo for tomorrow's game. At last report, almost 2 feet of snow had fallen in Denver. Wind chills sub-0. Airport closed down. Bronco charter sitting on the runway hoping to take off soon, but for the moment still grounded.
Well, this is his 3rd time through the order, and he has handled the middle of this order perfectly. So we'll have to see if they make any adjustments to see what happens here. Sheffield is 0 for 2, Bonilla 0 for 2. Conine is a real hard 0 for 2, but that's 0 for 6 for the middle of the lineup, and those are the 3 hitters he's facing here.
Conine has hit 2 shots. Robbed first by Grissom in center, then by Justice in left. The 1-0 pitch to Sheffield. 2-0.
Al and Mike Hargrove not wanting to take any chances. The Indian bullpen is busy. Jackson, the right-hander. Mormon, the left-hander. As Ogea has fallen behind Sheffield here 2-0.
Sheffield has to make sure he gets a pitch to hit. Don't go out of the strike zone.
3-0. When you get to games 6 and 7, should you shorten your bullpen the way a basketball coach shortens his bench in the playoffs and say, wait a minute, I'm not going to Plunk or to Juden or maybe even to Mormon. I'll let Jackson pitch 2 innings. I'll bring in Mesa in the 8th. What the heck?
That's exactly right.
There's a strike.
And not to say Ogea is done here by any means, but yeah, you're right, Bob. I mean, tomorrow's another day. If the Indians can hang on and win here, then it's the staff and anybody else who can throw tomorrow.
dangerous pitch for Ogea. And he walks him.
I really believe that they have become a little more patient against Ogea the second and third time around. Sinker low. Fastball just off the plate inside. Fastball up. Fastball for a strike. And then again he goes up.
His velocity has dropped a little bit too. He's in the middle to high 80s now. He was in the low 90s. Mike Hargrove coming out now to talk things over with Chad Ogea, and we may get a pitching change here. Both Mormon and Jackson are ready, and Hargrove's looking out there, and he has made a change. He wants the right-hander. Chad Ogea gave him a good 5+ innings. It's going to be Jackson coming on to work. Stick around. We're coming back to Florida.
Mike Jackson has come on. His best pitch is his slider, and he got hurt in Cleveland off the fastball, so he looked for him to go to the sliders early in this game. He got hit real hard off 2 fastballs that cost him some runs. But he has a good slider and a good sinking fastball.
Bonilla was 0 for 2 against Ogea. Sheffield who walked, leads away from first. Nobody out in the 6th. Ball 1 high. The worst of this for Mike Hargrove is that he loses Ogea's bat. He takes his bat out of the lineup, and Ogea was due to hit third in the top of the 7th. He singled and doubled while he was in there, knocked in 2 and scored 1.
Well, there's a high fastball on Bobby Bonilla from Jackson, and that's where he doesn't want to be. And again, that ball about belt high. Jackson, who's also had problems in the World Series. Again, his slider, he's got a devastating slider. If he's right, I mean, it's a real biter down low and inside to a left-handed batter and away from a right-hander. But he's got that ability to ride that fastball away from a guy like Bonilla, too. Like that.
1 and 2.
I think that was a changeup.
Might have been off speed.
Yeah, it was. That was a changeup. Mike Jackson doesn't often throw a lot of changeups, but that's what that is. That's a changeup. You see it move away. That's a beautiful pitch he threw to Bonilla there. Mike Jackson basically fastball changes speeds on his slider, but that was a straight change that moved down and away from Bobby Bonilla.
Conine on deck, and then Alou. Foul back, still 1 and 2.
This slider to a guy like Bonilla, I mean, when he really gets on top of it, will really dive down low and inside. And with Bonilla now, and the way he is aggressive and goes into the ball, let's see if Jackson works down low and inside here. We'll watch Alomar with a side and then the target on Bonilla. Inside.
Breaking ball, pop back of short. Vizquel drifts out and has it. That's the first out in the Florida 6th.
Well, he wanted the slider. He hung it on Bonilla. He got away with one that time. Mike Jackson knows he got away with one. Watch Alomar set up inside. He called the slider. Here's the slider. And it's not sliding very much. And Bonilla with a big swing popped it up to Vizquel. He got away with it.
Conine was due, but he's pulled back, and here comes Eisenreich, who's likely to stay in the game and play first base after this at-bat. Eisenreich had one of the biggest hits of this World Series in Game 3 in Cleveland with his team trailing 7-3. He hit a 2-run home run that started their comeback. Ball 1 to him high. Here's what he did in the DH role in Cleveland. Games 3 and 4. Can't do much better than that.
4 for 6 in this series. I mean, he's been swinging the bat really well.
The Marlins looked dead in Game 3, trailing 7-3 until he connected. That really brought them to life. 2-0.
Kenny Kaiser, you talked about him a moment ago, Bob, has really done a good job behind the plate tonight. I mean, both ways. He's made corner calls that have been there, and those that are just off the outside corner, he's let them go. I mean, they've been waste pitches as far as Kaiser's concerned, but both ways, both clubs.
Down low, 3 balls and no strikes. pitches. Conine strolls to first. Sheffield to second. 2 walks in the inning. First and second, 1 down.
Well, when we talked about the Indians' dilemma at the top of the broadcast, it's centered on their bullpen that had done such a great job in the championship series against Baltimore, where they won 4, lost none, earned run average just a little bit above 3. In the World Series, they've had problems, and Jackson is one of the problems. Here's a guy that normally throws hard. You look at the division series against the Orioles, just a little over 3. Then the World Series at 4-7. And Jackson, who throws hard, has a very good slider, and is normally, I mean, this guy is as good a setup man as there is in baseball.
Division series against the Yanks, then the LCS against Baltimore. Now here's Alou, whose specialty in this World Series has been the 3-run homer. Got one against Hershiser here in Game 1 that snapped a 1-all tie. Then an even bigger one in Game 5, again off Hershiser at Jacobs Field. They were trailing 4-2. After Alou connected, they were leading 5-4.
You know, one thing I'm noticing about Jackson here, I mean, he's not spotting his pitches at all. That slider, the first slider was supposed to be away. He got it on the inside corner. That slider was supposed to be away and was a backup slider inside. The reason he got Bonilla out was his slider was a backup slider. Didn't do anything. Bonilla couldn't catch up with it.
Check swing foul, 1-2.
There's a bad hack by Alou, Joe. I don't know what he was looking for there. If he was looking for another breaking ball and was fooled on that low sinker. This ball is out of the strike zone, and Alou with a check swing just got a piece of it. There's Charles Nagy on the left. Alvin Mormon is still up in the Indians bullpen.
Only one we haven't seen so far is Jared Wright, huh?
Well, if Nagy comes into this game or throws many more warm-up pitches, you can pretty much count on Jared Wright in Game 7 if there is a Game 7. A check swing roller. Jackson can't get it. Fernandez flips and records the out at first.
Well, he thoroughly confused Moises Alou on the play. On the pitches, he just had him completely off balance. It's a slider down and away. He tries to check his swing because he was off the plate. And this is just a very fine play by Tony Fernandez to be able to get Moises Alou at first base.
That's the kind of a slider that Jackson normally throws. That slider that bites down and away from a right-hander or down low and inside to a left-hander. You see Moises Alou upset. Anytime you see a guy like Alou or any of these good hitters go out on a check swing, you know they're upset.
Now Sandy Alomar Jr. is down and giving those signs way down low again. Look at that.
Runners at second and third with 2 out, and Alomar doesn't want to take any chances.
Well, Mike Jackson has not thrown many good sliders, and I'm sure that he was thinking, I want to try to get ahead by spotting this sinking fastball somewhere and then get him to chase the slider.
Well, Mark Wiley talking things over with Mike Hargrove, and Wiley's going to come out here to make sure that Jackson and Alomar are on the same page.
Well, I'm sure he's going out to remind Jackson that he got hurt with the fastball in Cleveland. Your best pitch is a slider. We need you to throw it.
I think, and again, Joe, Wiley's saying, well, what are you guys talking about here? Now, you know, we went over the scouting report on these guys, and earlier, you know, we talked about this is not surprise time anymore. These guys have seen each other enough times. Nobody's going to surprise anybody else. Every hitter knows what every pitcher throws, and everybody just wants to be on the same page. That's it. We know how we're going to work these guys. Let's stay with our game plan and go with your strong suit.
Charles Johnson singled off Chad Ogea his last time up. A single here could make it a 1-run game. Ball 1 inside.
I think Jackson won out. He wanted to throw a fastball. He threw one. He moves him off the plate.
Bouncing ball toward the hole. Vizquel stops it. Throws from the outfield grass. What a play! Oh, man. He saved 2 runs and ended the inning. After a startling play by Omar Vizquel to end the 6th, The Indians still lead 4-1, and Sandy Alomar starts it against Felix Heredia in the top of the 7th. Foul ball, strike one. Take another look. You might need several looks to believe it.
Well, we talked about how good a defensive team these Cleveland Indians are, and he won Gold Gloves. You don't win Gold Gloves if you can't make the great plays under pressure, and this saves 2 runs, not 1, and he completes the inning. I mean, the great thing there is how quickly he got up after he made the stop.
The most appreciative audience of all, the Cleveland bench.
See Mike Hargrove. Mike Hargrove leaning the other way, saying, "Come on, Omar." You know, when you watch Vizquel throughout the year and in the postseason as we have now, you really kind of become used to stuff like that. He's fancy. He's one of those guys that makes the fancy play to get everybody's attention. And plays like that have become kind of routine for him, despite the fact that it was a great play.
The 1-2 pitch coming to Alomar.
Remember the play that Renteria made on Alomar back in the 4th inning when he grabbed that ball 2 steps on the outfield grass and threw Sandy Alomar out by about a half a step on a great play.
A great play, but considering A, the degree of difficulty, and B, especially the importance of the situation, Vizquel went him one better. Sandy's 0 for 2. And make it 0 for 3. Heredia has retired all 4 mistakes, the last 3 in a row on strikeouts. NFL action tomorrow. An NBC doubleheader begins at 12 noon Eastern with the NFL on NBC. And we're told that the Denver Bronco plane, grounded by a tremendous snowstorm in Colorado, just took off. They're on their way to Buffalo. They will play in Game 1, seen by most of the country. There's the lineup for the second half of the doubleheader, all beginning with the pregame show at noon Eastern. Strike one to Grissom. He's walked and struck out. John Hart, the general manager of the Cleveland Indians, told us before the game the club was really down after dropping Game 5 at home, and he walked around up to every player in the clubhouse. There's Hart, who has done such a great job first building this team and then reshaping it after departures of Albert Bell and Kenny Lofton. The 0-2 pitch is high. Said he walked around, talked to every player, and one who was feeling especially low was Oral Hershiser, a loser for the 2nd time in the series. And he said, "Oral, I want you to go in there and tell Mike Hargrove that if you need me for a batter or 2 in Game 7, I want the ball." Fouled off, and that's an attitude that presupposes that there will be a Game 7, which is the way to get on the plane. If you're going to make the trip, come here to win.
Well, the Indians have bounced back a lot in the postseason and during the season from adversity. I mean, and you know, they had that terrible game, and to be able to bounce back.
Jammed him, slow roller. Bonilla flips it on the run and makes a nice play and winds up face down on the turf.
Routine play for Bobby Bonilla. You know, the spectacular plays he's made throughout this series, those diving backhanded stabs, then throwing from his knees. Watch this one. That's a tough play for him. We've talked about that hamstring problem that has stopped Bonilla really from bending down to make any kind of a play. Watch this one. He makes it easily. I thought he was going to try to do it barehanded. He did it gloved hand, got it out and threw him out. Nice play by Bobby Bonilla. Good play.
Now Mike Jackson bats for the 2nd time in the series. Had an at-bat here in Game 2 and put the ball in play, grounding out to the right side. He has some National League experience in his well-traveled career, so he feels like he knows what to do with the bat. He wasn't cheating.
And Heredia knows what to do with the fastball. I'm talking before about Jim Thome being locked in. Heredia threw a fastball or a 97-mile-an-hour by him to unlock him real quick.
He's hit 3 of the 5 he's faced. His 2 pitch is down and in, and Jackson lays off. In his career, Jackson has had 27 at-bats with 5 hits. That works out to 185.
That pitch that he struck Thome out on now, I see it again, as a cut fastball.
Cutter?
Yeah.
97 or 98, Joe.
Yeah,
that's a tough slider. I know that.
Yeah, that was a cut fastball.
That's just straight heat, and he blows it by Jackson for his 4th strikeout in 2 innings of work.
Thanks to Captain Daniels and the entire crew of the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes
for their assistance in our coverage of tonight's game from Pro Player Stadium. Man, when they opened that upper deck, some of those seats are pretty much within blimp range at the very top of the stadium, packing some 67,000 in here. The real baseball capacity is around 44, 45,000. Jackson to work in the bottom of the 7th. Ball 1 to Craig Counsell. The veteran John Cangelosi is in the on-deck circle. There he is. Switch hitting reserve. He'll be next. 2-0.
Well, it's amazing to me that Mike Jackson doesn't have his control tonight. Either he's overthrowing or he's not staying on top of his fastball.
A called strike, 2-1.
Well, that's the problem that we pointed out earlier. The fact that the bullpen, after that great championship series against Baltimore, and did so very, very well, and Jackson being one of the mainstays, has scuffled in the World Series.
To the middle, Fernandez can't get it. A leadoff single for Counsell.
See, the problem is if Jackson can't get ahead of you, he can't get you to chase that slider out of the strike zone. And since he was behind, he had to throw all fastballs to Counsell. So he got a 2-1 fastball and hit it back through the middle.
Tomorrow is Mike Hargrove's 48th birthday. It won't be a happy one if the Indians are playing. He leads game 6 4-1. Cangelosi, a kid out of Brooklyn who has just hung around the major leagues on sheer determination, a good bit of speed. He's a stolen base threat and a very good batting eye from the small strike zone. He's 34 years old. His major league career includes stops with the White Sox, the Pirates, the Rangers, the Mets, the Astros, and now the Marlins.
I'm not so sure that Jackson's arm is 100% healthy because he is not throwing very many sliders at all.
Liner, base hit. Cangelosi comes through. The tying run comes to the plate.
And there's another fastball. He got hurt on fastballs in Cleveland. He's getting hurt on fastballs tonight. And this is not Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson throws a lot of sliders, even, to first pitches, to left-handers, and so forth. I'm sure there's something wrong with his arm. He's not throwing that slider. Fastball up and out over the plate, and he rips it to center field. Good job of hitting there by Cangelosi. And Jose Mesa gets up very quickly in the bullpen.
Well, they said that was a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, if indeed it was, and I don't think it was. Cangelosi really did, Joe. He got on top of that baby quick and hit it hard right back at him.
Devon White is 2 for 3.
This is not Mike Jackson. Every pitch is a fastball.
Mesa up. Hargrove not messing around. Gets his closer up in the 7th along with Assenmacher. Devon White has shaken out of the doldrums. Couple of doubles in game 5. Pair of singles here in the 6th game. But Jackson gets ahead of him 0-2.
There's the slider cut fastball that we talked about, that little cutter.
That was a fastball. It was not a slider.
And Jackson in front now.
Two on, nobody out, and the 0-2 pitch.
There's the slider.
The Marlins have good speed on the bases. Counsell at second. Cangelosi at first. The 1-2 pitch.
have not done a good job with runners in scoring position tonight. No base hits in 5 bats. They got a sacrifice fly from Dalton for their only run.
Renteria is on deck, and then Sheffield.
And Sandy Alomar Jr. is getting a little bit annoyed back behind the plate because Jackson keeps shaking him off.
I think he's called sliders, Joe,
right.
and Jackson's shaking him off.
A called strike rate and an extra flourish from Ken Kaiser.
Well, take a look at this pitch sequence. There's a fastball. He cut through it. Another one fouled it off. There's that slider off the inside corner. Fouled again by Devon White. Had a breaking ball, and it appeared to be a little bit high. Ken Kaiser thought it was a strike, and Devon White is gone. Big strikeout. Big strikeout for Jackson.
Now with 1 out, it's Renteria. 0 for 3 tonight. Hasn't had a big postseason with the bat, but he's been sensational with the glove.
See Renteria taking a look at Williams playing very deep at third and showing bunt that time and taking the high fastball. He's got Williams playing very deep. Now Matt Williams has moved up about 4 steps. He was playing very, very deep. Renteria saw him take a peek down there and then fake the bunt. Now Williams dropping back again.
A ball and a strike to Renteria.
It wouldn't be a bad idea at all with guys like Sheffield and Bonilla coming up next.
I thought it was a great idea. Matt Williams moves back again.
He's back there, Joe. Yeah, you're right.
Jackson's 1-1 pitch is high.
The trouble is, once you get 1 strike, you don't want to give up a strike trying to bunt it. In case you bunt it foul, then you put yourself in the hole.
Oh yeah, but initially he took a peek down there and had the idea and didn't do it. Wiley again to the bullpen. They're ready down there.
I have never seen Mike Jackson throw as many fastballs as he has thrown tonight, and that is not his bread and butter pitch.
I don't know when the last time I saw Jose Mesa up in the 7th inning either.
Here it is on 2-1. And the count evens. Look how deep Justice is playing Renteria. Too deep?
Well, you know, they don't want anything to get over his head and score 2 runs. I was surprised he was playing as shallow as he was against Conine. He's been playing deep ever since he caught the ball off Conine.
Look where Grissom is playing in the right center. He's shading well in the right center. There's that major, I mean a big gap between Justice and Grissom in left and now playing in right center. But again, they don't feel Renteria is going to be able to pull Jackson.
Here's the 2-2 pitch. Struck him out. So singles by Counsell and the pinch hitter Cangelo to open the inning. But then Jackson draws on some kind of reserve and fans White and Renteria.
Well, maybe that's why he's shaking Alomar off, because he feels he's got good enough velocity on that fastball. Although the breaking ball, the slider, is a big, big pitch for Jackson. That last fastball, 94 miles an hour, and he threw it right past Renteria.
Well, he won't be able to throw the fastball by Gary Sheffield. You better try to trick him.
For the first time tonight, he bats with men on base. All 1 inside.
And even with that slider, if his slider is in the 90s or the high 80s, Sheffield doesn't have to make that much of an adjustment on it. And we've seen him throughout this series hit balls back through the middle and into right center field.
He has 3 postseason home runs, 1 in the World Series. 2-0.
I hate to tell you, he's not thinking about hitting a single back to the middle right now. He knows that he's the man, and he's in a situation where he can go for it, especially 2-0. He can sit on a pitch and try to, you know, hit that ball, at least get it in the gap.
Jackson's off, so Sheffield steps out.
This is a situation where you see Sheffield hitting 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, anything. He's hit, representing the tying run.
Breaking ball for a strike, 2-1.
Well, that slider inside on the corner, as you look at Sheffield's postseason hitting chart, most of his base hits to right field, I should say left field, and he has gone to center and right from time to time, depending on the pitch.
He lays off, and the count goes to 3-1. 2 out, 2 on, bottom of the 7th, 4-1 Cleveland in Game 6.
And Jackson threw the breaking ball that time, 3-1. If he's done it 3-1, you might as well do it 3-2. He shakes off one on Alomar again. I should say 3-1. See if Sandy goes breaking ball here again. He wants Jackson to let him go through a new set here.
Oh, cuts and misses. Nearly popped a few buttons on his shirt.
Well, he has not thrown a good slider this entire inning. This is just a kind of a flat slider. Watch this, stays pretty much on the same plane. Sheffield has a good hack at it. I mean, he just misses it. I mean, that is dangerous territory there for Mike Jackson.
Now the runners go, and here it comes, and he fouls it back.
Well, there's a 3-2 slider, and again, I don't know how he missed that. That 3-1 slider, Joe, he looked like he was right on, and it hung for Jackson. That one a little bit sharper and down on Gary.
Hargrove needs it. Leland wants it. But only Leland has breathing room. Not much, mind you, but some. Bases are loaded. Hargrove dispatches Wiley to the mound to talk with Jackson as Bonilla strides to the plate.
Well, when you see Mike Jackson bending over like this, something's wrong with him. And I think it's his elbow, because he has not thrown his patented slider. He has not been throwing the sharp slider that we know Mike Jackson has. And he got hurt on the fastballs in Cleveland. But Mike Jackson's a tough competitor.
Well, if there was anything wrong, it would be for Mark Wiley now to get Hargrove out there and say, this guy's not right. He's got with the elbow, Joe, if indeed he does. But apparently he's all right. Stay in there. It's surprising how many times he's shaken Alomar off. And again, if Sandy has been calling that breaking ball, Jackson wants to feature the fastball, which he's picked up a couple of strikeouts on, and then walked Sheffield on the breaking stuff. Went 3-1 with a slider, 3 with a slider, and walked him.
Bonilla is 0 for 3 tonight. Under 200 in the series. A ball high and away. Eisenreich is on deck. Is on deck. Swing and a high pop into shallow center. Grissom and Vizquel. It's Grissom, and the Marlins leave the bases loaded. It's still 4-1 Cleveland. We move to the 8th in South Florida. Cleveland still in front 4-1, trying to even this World Series. There's only been one Game 7 in the last 10 years. Since the Cardinals and the Twins went to 7 games in 1987, Minnesota winning it, the only time the World Series has gone as far as 7 was 1991, and that was a classic with the Twins defeating Atlanta and Jack Morris pitching that 10-inning masterpiece in Game 7 over John Smoltz and the Braves, a 1-0 Game 7 final. That after an extra inning home run by Kirby Puckett had won Game 6. Jay Powell has come on for the Marlins, who have had their chances the last couple of innings.
Now the Marlins have stranded 9 runners in this game, Bob. They've had chances against the Indians, but still trail 4-1.
7 of those 9 left over the last 3 innings. Tony Fernandez, who replaced Bip Roberts, who was feeling ill again, at second base. Felix Heredia did an excellent job while he was in there. Retired all 6 men he faced, 4 of them on strikes. Now Jay Powell. There's a strike. Vizquel and Ramirez will follow in the Cleveland 8th. Down and in, 2-1. After a series of gyrations, Fernandez steps in and Ken Kaiser says, hold on here a minute. Unless I'm seeing things, Kaiser on the off day between games 5 and 6 pulled out the blade and shaved off the goatee. Clean shaven to work the plate in game 6.
Yeah, he's been sporting a goatee for about a month and a half to 2 months, and yeah, when they came out for their little meeting behind home plate prior to the start of tonight's game, it's either been shaved off or ripped off by somebody who was upset at his calls the other day.
He's had a good night back at the plate
tonight. Yes, he has. He's done a heck of a job tonight. Really has.
That one's right back through the wickets for a single for Fernandez. Wide turn. But he'll hold there. When he's gotten a chance, he's come through in this postseason.
Well, like Jim Leland talked about Darren Dalton, a tough guy to keep out of the lineup. The same holds true for Mike Hargrove. You're right, Bob. When this guy's been in the lineup, I mean, he has really delivered key base hits throughout the playoff series. Playoffs, World Series.
Including, of course, the pennant-winning home run at Baltimore in Game 6 of the LCS. Vizquel's 1 for 3, had a third-inning double plus a stolen base.
Of course, the big play by Vizquel to save a couple of runs at shortstop when he threw out Charles Johnson. Diving stab and then got up and threw him out.
Tries to slug bunt it and fouls it to the seats. There have been a number of defensive lapses in this series, some of them brought on perhaps by the weather conditions in Cleveland for the middle games, but there have also been a number of brilliant plays. Of all of them, the play by Vizquel was the best.
Gary Sheffield on that ball in Cleveland went up over the top of the wall, or just about over the top, to bring it back in.
One and two.
Marquise Grissom earlier tonight on the ball hit by Conine made a beautiful running catch at the wall in deep left center.
But when Vizquel made his play, there were runners at second and third and 2 out. If that ball goes through, it's a 4-3 game. He not only stops it, he throws Johnson out at first. Hernandez bluffs a go, and Vizquel rolls it foul. For those of you just joining us for the late games in the World Series, and you may be wondering, what is the number 32? What does that signify on the caps of the Florida Marlins? It's in honor of their teammate Alex Fernandez, who won 17 games for them this year. There's Alex, who was knocked out of the postseason with a rotator cuff tear. Eisenreich comes up with this one, gets the lead runner, but Powell is slow to get over to first. I don't know if they would have gotten Vizquel anyway, but it would have had to have been 3-6-1, and Powell wasn't there, so they settled for the force.
Well, nice play by Eisenreich, because this ball was hit like a shot, And it might have been lucky that he's left-handed because the glove's on his right side of his body. Now watch this. The ball's hit in the hole, and he's able to get over there, make the play, and he makes a good throw to Renteria, but no chance for the double play. You always want to make sure you get one, and they did that.
Number 24.
So now Ramirez, who doesn't have an official at-bat, a walk and 2 sacrifice flies. So it's not like he's been unimportant.
And they better watch Vizquel at first base. Try to keep him close.
Powell featuring that little behind the head jerk of a move.
Yeah, if that picks you off, you're really in trouble. I always wonder why some guy doesn't perfect that kind of move. You know, back off the mound and fire one over your head. They do it when they're messing around.
I would think the potential risk exceeds the potential gain.
Well, you've seen guys step off the mound, just back off the mound, Bob, and without turning, flip a ball back to second base. I mean, guys have done that for a long, long time. It's very unconventional, but from time to time it works.
And he looks Vizquel back. One out, one on. Top of the 8th. 4-1 Cleveland. He's not going. And that's low and away. 1-1 to Manny Ramirez. David Justice on deck. In the bottom of the 8th, Eisenreich, Alou, and Johnson will be the hitters for Florida. Two and one. The Marlins had big chances in both the 6th and the 7th and couldn't bring anybody home.
Stranded a couple back in the 5th when they had 3 base hits. Picked up a run and at it. That's been it.
High fly ball to right. Sheffield camped under it. We got a look at Jim Leland a moment ago, and we'll return to that after we remind you of this, that after the game tonight, most of you will see your late local news, which will be followed by an all-new Saturday Night Live with guest host Chris Farley. If Cleveland wins and forces a Game 7, Keith Olbermann and Hannah Storm will have our World Series postgame show available immediately following the game on CNBC. However, if Florida comes back and wins tonight, then we'll stay here for the postgame celebration and awards presentation on NBC. Justice is 0 for 3, and his bat has cooled off a bit the last 2 or 3 games. And Powell yet again with that distinctive motion designed, I'm beginning to suspect, to irritate more than anything else.
You are the runner.
Or both. What is this about?
Then it's working, I guess. Don't think there won't be some kids around the country doing the same thing.
And that's a step forward, huh?
I kind of like it.
Yeah, right. Here's the pitch. Something to say about Jim Leland. Taking absolutely nothing for granted. He led an LCS 3-2 against the Atlanta Braves when he managed the Pirates, coming home for games 6 and 7, and they never made it to the World Series. The next year, he led Game 7 2-0 going to the 9th inning. Never made it to the World Series. We may never make it to the bottom of the 8th if Powell persists with this approach. He's ahead of Justice 0-2. He had the biggest hit of his life in Game 6 of the World Series 2 years ago, but did it wearing an Atlanta uniform against Cleveland. Home run off Jim Poole in the 6th, The only run in a 1-0 World Championship clinching victory.
I'm surprised that Vizquel has not run. And actually, this is a good time to run right here, 0-2. Simply because if you don't make it, Justice would lead off the 9th for you, and he already has 2 strikes on him.
Well, Charles Johnson now and Jay Powell trying to get together on what Powell probably wants to throw. Not so much what Johnson wants to call, but it's what Powell wants to throw. That more often is the conversation. I mean, you can get together for the most part of a game. You're really locked in with a pitcher. A starter, a relief guy, you know what he's got. You know how he wants to work, and for the most part, you're locked in. But there are those times when a pitcher has in his mind a pitch that he wants to throw in a situation. Here it is 0-2 on David Justice, and he wants to throw.
Now he brings it home, and Justice takes outside. By today's standards, where games get longer and longer, and the pace of those games is increasingly a concern, this game had been moving along at a relatively brisk pace. Slowed to a crawl here with Powell on in the 8th. There goes Vizquel. The pitch down and in. Johnson's throw. He stole it. So Vizquel has swiped 2 tonight and 3 in the series.
Tough pitch for Johnson to throw, and throws a little high, but Vizquel actually just beats it. I think it's a pretty good jump, and the throw is up. Very close at second base.
You're right. That's a tough pitch to handle for Johnson. Down low and inside, and the throw high, and only the speed of Vizquel got there. He just outran that throw, but a tough play for Johnson to handle. Tough pitch.
And Justice strikes out. So that'll do it in the Cleveland 8th, and it remains 4-1. In the NFL, the Broncos barely able to get out of Denver and on their way to Buffalo. And the Dolphins and Bears watching this game, wondering if they play tomorrow afternoon, or if there's a Game 7 in this park, then the football game gets shifted to Monday night. The veteran Paul Assenmacher comes on. He'll face Jim Eisenreich to start the bottom of the 8th. The Marlins are 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position tonight, and they've left 9, trailing 4-1. And a couple of innings away from being forced to a Game 7. A called strike. Much of the crowd didn't like it. Ken Kaiser thought so.
Well,
1-1.
surprisingly, I was going to say Bob Assenmacher, back-to-back breaking balls. He missed on the first one to Eisenreich, and then the second one Kaiser liked.
1-2 as he gets ahead of Eisenreich. Mesa was up back in the 7th. Hargrove has absolutely no room to fool around. He can't save anybody at all. Eisenreich swings and misses. Alomar is going to have to record the out at first with a throw to Tomey. Here's what the scouts say about the veteran Paul Assenmacher.
Number 18.
He has a very, very good curveball. Fastball, will use it to spot it from time to time, and tries not to get beat with his second best pitch, and that is the fastball. He has a very, very good curveball. You saw Jimmy Eisenreich really fooled on a couple, especially that last one down low in the dirt.
Alou has walked, singled, and grounded out. Swings on the first pitch. Lofts a pop back of second. Fernandez into shallow right center for the catch.
Bob, I want to take a quick moment. Jerry Manuel wanted me to tell his father Lorenzo that he's sorry he couldn't be here with him in his first World Series. He's recuperating in Sacramento, California, and he wanted me to pass along those well wishes and ours along with him.
Now Charles Johnson with 2 out and nobody on in the 8th. Ball one.
Just the opposite of Mike Jackson. He comes in throwing his best pitch, and Mike Jackson did a good job, but he struggled because he didn't have his best pitch with him.
Dave Nelson wants Manny Ramirez to come in closer and right. Manny does move in several steps. Strike one, 1-1. The official attendance tonight, 67,498. A few more than in games 1 and 2, so they set a new record.
And this crowd has been screaming and hollering from the opening inning on all afternoon, as a matter of fact.
Those seats in the upper deck are really football seats. When you get to the very top of this stadium, yeah, you better bring a transistor radio. The vendors are selling peanuts, hot dogs, and oxygen.
Peanuts up there one at a time.
Yeah, but if you can see a football game from up there, you can see a baseball game from up there.
I guess. Debatable, but we'll leave it there. The 3-1 pitch. I think when you're that far away, you're just there for the atmosphere, for the feel of being at the World Series. Full count. And a shot to left for a 2-out single.
Charles Johnson has really been swinging the bat well the last 2 ball games. I mean, he has been patient getting the hit pitchers in the hole, and when he's gotten his pitch, he's hit it hard. And the play that Vizquel made to save 2 runs was on Johnson. I mean, you see he just stay in there. He's got good balance now. He's swinging the bat very well. One thing that's happening here is that Jim Leland has had to use 2 left-handed hitters here against Paul Ossenmacher. Jim Eisenreich started the inning off. I'm not sure that anyone else could play first base. Now they have Counsell up here. I know they have Abbott on the bench, you know, who could pinch hit, and Alex Arias are right-handed hitters, but he has chosen to let these 2 guys hit.
And Counsell swings on the first pitch, lifts a lazy fly to left. Justice is there. And they're out in the 8th. An inning away from forcing game 7. In the top of the 9th, leading 4-1, the Indians send up Williams, Thome, and Alomar. In the bottom half of the inning, a pinch hitter for Powell. Then to the top of the order with White and Renteria for Florida. Ball 1 to Williams. As we mentioned at the beginning of the telecast, there have been 24 previous times in baseball history when a team found themselves in a situation identical to what the Cleveland Indians faced entering this game 7. In other words, trailing 3 games to 2 and on the road for game 6 and possibly game 7. Out of those 24 times, 12 times, half, the road team won game 6 and forced a 7th and deciding game. And in 6 of those 12 game 7s, the road team won. So 25% of the time that a team went on the road, and Williams lifts this one to very deep left center field. White to the track, looking up and watching it leave. Wait a minute, hit off the top, and bounce back right off the top of the scoreboard. And Williams settles for a double.
Williams, once he got to second base, Bob, I think he thought that ball went out.
He slowed into a home run trot.
Yep, it hit right on top of the scoreboard, I believe. We'll get another look at it. This ball is hit high and deep by Williams. Hit right up on top, bounced down and over the head of Devon White.
And you know, White, by the way White reacted, he thought it had bounced back off a portion that was out of play and that it would be ruled a home run. He froze.
Well, he also got too close to the wall again.
Leland comes out and takes the ball from Powell. And we'll step aside for just a second.
Be right.
Ed Vosberg comes out of the bullpen to face Jim Thome with Matt Williams aboard at second with a long double that narrowly missed being a home run. We'll show it to you in a moment. Thome's 0 for 2 with a walk. Strike 1 to him, and the foul ball took a little piece out of Ken Kaiser. While he gathers himself, take a look at the ball Williams hit. And listen, because you'll hear it hit the wall. Watch the ball descend, and it will hit the green portion atop the scoreboard. Now, if it was slightly to the left and went into the black area above that rider sign, that would be a home run. If it hits the blue scoreboard where the line score is, that's out of play and a home run. Think that's the dent at left?
Yeah, right above the P.
Kaiser's okay, apparently. And the count goes to 1-1 on Thome.
Every mask now, Bob, the new mask that the umpires wear and catchers use has that little extension down underneath right there. And I'll tell you one thing, it's saved a lot of people from problems with those foul balls in the neck. That's a great piece of equipment. Remember the Dodger catcher Steve Yeager some years back when he was hitting the throat by the end of the barrel end of the bat that actually stuck in his throat. Steve Yeager went to a piece of leather that he tied onto the mask and then let it drape down over his neck. But this is a great addition to a mask right there. It's really saved a lot of people.
Thome pops it back of third. Renteria and Alou over toward the bullpen and out of play. Didn't Steve Yeager take care of a number of the baseball scenes in the major league movies that you appeared in?
Yeah, he did.
Tom Berenger played the catcher, but Yeager took care of the action scenes.
Yeah, he was. Steve Yeager was much involved. Matter of fact, he was a coach in the movies too. See, Charles Johnson has that little extension down on his mask there. When you get down and you get into your crouch or get into your catching position, that thing really sticks down on your chest protector. The umpires, of course, wear the inside protector or wear the protector inside.
The Indians hoping for some additional insurance, leading 4-1 in the ninth. And Thome goes down on strikes.
Good job by Vosberg, not only to strike him out, but to keep him from pulling the ball to the right side and advancing Matt Williams from second base, because the Cleveland Indians did that very, very well in the early innings, moving runners along.
Thome, who had begun to swing the bat well in this World Series, came in with a World Series average of .333, including a couple of home runs, is 0 for 3 with a walk tonight. They're going to give Sandy Alomar an intentional pass and take their chances with Marquise Grissom, and that tells you just how hot Alomar has been. They'd rather pitch to the guy with one of the highest World Series batting averages ever.
I'm going to talk to Jim Thome. He told me before the game he was really locked in. I got to find out what they locked him in.
Well, he walked his first time.
Yeah.
Then grounded a second and struck out twice. So Alomar, who was 0 for 3 before stepping in this time, is walked intentionally, bringing up Grissom, who's 0 for 2 with a walk. Robbed of what could have been an infield single his last time up on a good play by the hobbling Bonilla. The veteran Kevin Seitzer. You saw him handing the bat to Paul Assenmacher.
Well, Seitzer said, I'm not using it. You might as well use it.
Well, on the other hand, if they intend to use Mesa in the ninth and Assenmacher's spot comes up and the left-hander still on the mound, why not use Seitzer? Right-handed hitter who hasn't been used in this World Series. There's Mesa in the bullpen. Grissom fouls it off. Seitzer is 35 years old and says he plans to retire after this year. There he is getting loose. Back in 1987, he was the runner-up in the Rookie of the Year balloting to Mark McGwire, who won the award with the Oakland A's. Good hitter, over 300 several times, but now about to hang him up. Be nice for him to get an at-bat in the World Series. Vosberg's 0-1 pitch, punched into center field. White is back there. He makes the catch, and Williams will tag and advance to third with 2 out. And so Assenmacher is called back, and it will be Kevin Seitzer.
I'm really glad to see Seitzer get an AB here, Bob. It's as you said, his final year. He threatened last year. Not really threatened. He talked about retiring following the 1996 season, but decided to come back for one more. And this, he says, is going to be it. But a solid third baseman, a solid DH, and a good guy in a club. I mean, this guy is one of the toughest guys that I've ever been around. I mean, I've seen Seitzer get hit a couple of times in the face. That's why he wears that protective guard over the left side of his face. He's been hit a couple of times in the face and wanted to play the next day. I mean, really got hit bad and wanted to play the next day. Played the second day after he was hit. And again, a tough guy and a guy who's really been a battler throughout his career.
So he gets his first chance ever to bat in a World Series. And takes a strike. In contrast to games 3 and 5 in Cleveland, the Indian bullpen has come through here. Ogea left with a 4-1 lead, and although Mike Jackson flirted with trouble, he worked 2 scoreless innings. Then Assenmacher came in, yielded a hit, but no runs in the inning he pitched. Now they'll turn it over to Mesa. The count goes to 0-2 on Seitzer. There's Mesa, who lost the closer's job to Jackson at one point during the season, then reclaimed it in August. If they protect the lead, Ogea will defeat Kevin Brown for the second time in this series. He did it in game 2. He's on the verge of doing it in game 6.
And he did it with his bat and his arm.
One and 2.
Seitzer, a very tough guy to strike out. Again, this is his first appearance in the series, but when Seitzer is on, when he's used as a DH or an everyday player, he's a tough guy to strike out. He's a guy that'll take the stuff you give him. If you're pitching him away, he'll go that way. He'll go to right field, right center. He's an opposite field hitter.
Moves him away. 2 balls and 2 strikes. With the exception of Matt Williams, who doubled in this inning and got what could be viewed as a gift single on a ball that might have been scored as an error on Bobby Bonilla in the second inning. With the exception of Williams, no Indian other than Ogea had 2 hits tonight. 2 big hits. 2 RBIs on his second inning single, a leadoff double in the 5th, and he scored a run. Hargrove's team was down 2-1 to the Yankees in the division series. Came back and won the 4th and 5th games to take the best 3 out of 5, but those games were at Jacobs Field. This will be tougher to do. 2 wins on the road when 1 loss would eliminate you. Full count now.
When we were in the Indians clubhouse, Bob, tonight, I mean, there was no problem at all. Mike Hargrove said he hadn't felt this good in a long time. He said, I feel great. The club feels good. There was no nervousness. Guys were joking around and messing around like they always do as you look at the runners.
Alomar goes. Seitzer rolls it to third. Bonilla will have to make a play to first. And on to the bottom of the 9th we go, with Cleveland still nursing that 4-1 lead. In addition to the football coverage, we'll have some travel coverage as we trace the path traversed by the Denver Broncos trying to get out of Colorado and to Buffalo. There was a tremendous blizzard in the Denver area. Well over a foot of snow. Wind chills below 0. The airport was closed. They got up in the air about an hour ago, and they're currently on their way to Buffalo. They'll arrive after midnight. As Greg Gumbel pointed out, they do pick up an extra hour's sleep as the clocks are turned back at 2 a.m. Eastern time. But they may be a weary group when they take on the Bills tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time. We'll have a report on the pregame show beginning at noon. Jose Mesa is asked to finish this and bring us to only The second Game 7 in the World Series in the last 10 years, and the first since 1991. Cliff Floyd, the former Expo, steps in. Pinch hitting to start the bottom of the ninth. And a strike from Mesa. White on deck, then Renteria. We've got to get to Sheffield and Bonilla to have a chance. In the dirt, 1-1.
That was about a 55-foot breaking ball there. And a good play by Alomar. We were talking to Jim Leland a couple of days ago about Jose Mesa and in bringing Mesa into a game where the situation does not call for a save. He says these guys are different pitchers. When the game is on the line, save situation, they seem to elevate it to a higher level.
No matter the score, the World Series should take you to a higher level. 1-1 pitch. Fernandez to his left. Stumbles a bit. Rights himself and gets him at first. Now that he's used Floyd, this is all that Leland has left. Of course, unless they rally, it'll be a moot point. There's Nagy up and throwing as he was earlier. Brian Anderson is the left-hander. Does this lead you to believe, Joe, that Jarrett Wright is the Game 7 starter?
Well, I would normally think that, but I would also wonder why they're throwing. But I would wonder why they're throwing at all. I mean, Mesa's your closer. He's got one out here in the ninth. Why are they throwing?
Jarrett Wright in the bullpen tonight. I mean, if it called for him, he probably would have been up 2 tonight.
White with a drive to right center field. Chasing after it is Grissom. It's over his head and to the 404 side. White to second. Wheels around the bag, and he'll have a triple. Well, he's snapped out of it in a big way. 3 for 5 tonight.
Well, Mesa gives him a high fastball, and I mean, he drills at the right center field. Grissom wasn't playing him as deep as he was playing Conine earlier. This ball hits short of the 404-foot sign, and by the time they get it back in, Devon White's at third with a triple.
Did you see him cruising around second, knowing he had a 3? Speed must really be nice.
White at third with 1 out. Here's Renteria, who's 0 for 4. Sheffield on deck. Renteria desperately wants to reach here to make Sheffield the tying run. And it's quickly 0-2. They've done it before, including 3 times in the postseason. They also had the best home record of any team in baseball during the regular season. Trailing here 4-1 in the ninth. And down goes Renteria.
It's been a tough night for Renteria. He has chased that high fastball on several occasions in this ball game.
Now Sheffield in a spot where a home run would leave Florida 1 short. Ball 1, it gets away from Alomar, and White probably could have scored, but thinks better of it. A wise decision.
Very wise decision. You wouldn't want to get thrown out at the plate for the last out when you're trailing by 3.
I'm really surprised at that pitch selection by Mesa here. This is a breaking ball. This is a split-fingered fastball in the dirt, and a good play by Alomar to knock it down and get to it very quickly. White holding it at third base. But again, I mean, here's a situation where you've got to challenge Sheffield. I don't care what kind of fastball hitter he is. You certainly don't want to put him on to bring the tying run up. You got to go right after him.
1-0 pitch is in there. Looks like he'll have to wait at least one more night. He's waited 34 seasons in professional baseball, 12 of them in the big leagues. This is his first trip to the World Series after 3 near misses. 1 victory away from winning it all. And now some debris being tossed on the field. And some of the staff comes out to quickly clean up the mess.
And the question is, will it be a happy birthday for Mike Hargrove tomorrow? It'll be his birthday. Will he be able to enjoy it is the question.
Well, we know he'll wake up a lot happier than he would have if he'd lost this one.
That's a pretty good point.
So the day will start happy. That's assuming they get out of here with the win. And they're 1 strike away from it.
He may not have gone to bed had they lost this one. Forget about waking up. But again, he told us tonight, he said, I feel great, feel relaxed. I'm proud of what this club has accomplished. No matter what happens, he says, we've had a great year, and I'm proud of every guy on this ball club.
Mesa's 1-2 pitch to Sheffield. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Gary is 0 for 2 with a pair of walks. He's now walked 7 times in this World Series and 19 times in the postseason.
I still think fastball, that's his #1 pitch. It's not a breaking ball, splitter, or curve, or slider. His fastball is #1. I just feel you've got to challenge. You really got to go after Sheffield.
Roll to third. Williams. Game 7 tomorrow night. Chad Ogea does it again. He beats Kevin Brown, and tonight he did it with his arm, his bat, and even on one occasion with his legs. So this is a series in which the rookie Livan Hernandez has twice beaten Oral Hershiser, and in which Chad Ogea, under 500 for the year, has twice beaten the Marlins ace Kevin Brown. The Chevrolet player of the game is obviously Chad Ogea.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Watch him viewing the third out. Yeah, we got it. We got half of what we came here for. Tied the series at 3. Game 7 tomorrow night. There doesn't appear to be much doubt about Al Leiter for the Florida Marlins. Charles Nagy was up and throwing a couple of times in the Cleveland bullpen, which might lead to speculation that Jarrett Wright has the inside track on the Game 7 start. Joe, Nagy's the kind of guy who, if he pitches well, he'll keep you in the game. Yeah. But if Wright is on his game, he'll win the game for you. He could be overpowering.
Well, that's true, but you also have to remember this is a Game 7 of the World Series, and you've got a kid that, you know, worked his way as much as he could into postseason play, but he has not been that dominant either.
Let's go downstairs to Keith Olbermann. He's with Chad Ogea.
Thank you, Bob. Where'd you learn to hit?
I don't know, just swing it hard in case you hit it. You know, my father always taught me to hit the ball to right field when I was a young kid, and so I just tried to do that tonight.
But you're our player of the game based more on the hitting than the pitching. Did you exhaust yourself running out the double, the second hit?
Yeah, I think the big thing is my legs were a little bit tired after that, and it just, you know, I was gassed.
So you guys now have faced 7 opportunities in this postseason where a loss and you're trailing. You've already trailing. You're going in with a trailing in a series. 7th time you've had that situation. 7th win. What is brought out of this team by that kind of condition?
I don't know. I think the biggest thing is with us is we've got a veteran team. When our backs are against the wall, we come out and play hard.
Sandy Alomar had told us before the game that perhaps it was even easier for you guys to play under these conditions.
Yeah, I think we just relax and we go out there, and the biggest thing with me is I pray real hard about it and just go out there and relax and have fun.
Is another young pitcher going tomorrow? Mr. Wright would be pitching the 7th game.
He's a good one.
Thank you very much, Ted. Congratulations. Back to Bob.
Well, the Marlins out-hit the Indians 8-7, but in the course of losing 4-1, they left 11 on base, and they were 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. Keith Olbermann supposed that Wright would go. Ogea didn't disagree. What do you think, Hugh?
I thought Jose Mason was going to throw a fastball. I better stay out of this.
Joe?
Well, I think he's probably going to go, but I'm just not sure if that's putting a lot of pressure on a young kid.
Well, once again, tonight's final. Cleveland 4 and Florida 1. The road team, by the way, has now won 9 of the last 12 World Series games. Go figure. And tomorrow, Game 7 coverage begins at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, following our NFL on NBC doubleheader. Tonight, after your late local news, an all-new Saturday Night Live, hosted by Chris Farley with musical guests, the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. For those of you who want to continue with post-game activities, you can join Keith Olbermann and Hannah Storm for our World Series post-game show, available immediately following this telecast on CNBC. For Joe Morgan, Bob Uecker, Jim Gray, Hannah Storm, and Keith Olbermann, I'm Bob Costas. Good night from Florida. We'll see you tomorrow for Game 7 of the World Series.